Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and it is December 5th, sorry, YC127, added 2 to the wrong number, and this is the Eve Universe Show! Welcome, 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 guys. Oh, I forgot to put it in the intro today, but we did have in our opening this lovely, lovely view. We've been doing, some tourism stuff. In fact, as soon as this video is over, the recording from the previous tourism video will be put up live on the main show. I only cut out like the beginning, maybe the end or whatever. So it's basically just the VOD. But I know people like it without the music at the beginning. So put it out there for that. Also, I like to put out the those things because like the live videos, it's too easy to kind of let those kind of become a giant pile that is hard to tell like which ones are worth like watching after the fact and which ones are just kind of timely. So if they are something that's like long-term valuable, like for instance a 4-hour discussion about the lore of the Amatar, it's worth cutting that out and putting it as a separate video as well as its live video. So that will be going live after this show is over. But in the meantime, we were going to do a little bit of tourism today. Well, my whole schedule kind of got messed up. I was supposed to stream yesterday, but I fell down a rabbit hole. We'll talk about that in a second. But we did end up going to this this landmark, which is the, what is it? The not Mechios graveyard, but the Elder War Monument. This monument marks the honor conferred by Empress of the Holy Amar to the countless heroes of the Empire who sacrificed their lives against the Minmatar Elder invasion of YC110, which we talked about at length during that previous video. So that's cool. This is just one of the locations. Apparently they put in a bunch of these locations. This is just one of them in the system of AMI. And later on, we will be traveling to the Eve Travel headquarters. So that'd be cool. So what we're going to do today is, have I visited Bob? What do you mean? You mean wormhole space? Or do you mean, what do you mean by visited Bob? Do you mean Steve? There's a lot of, I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that. But the answer is probably no. No, that's Steve. Yeah, I haven't visited Steve yet. We have stayed, especially after what happened to the first Odysseus, rather, I've been trying to stay out of largely dangerous areas. This is, low sec, but I feel a little bit more comfortable there. We're going to get a little bit more footage before I start doing null sec stuff with the Odysseus again. I think. At any rate, oh shoot, my mic is peaking. How's my audio doing now? Let me know how my audio is doing so that way it's all good. Just trying to make sure everything's set up right. Okay, so, but I thought that this plinth was a really cool place to check out for this for the opening, and boy, this skybox is so pretty. Amar have such great skyboxes. There's a reason why they think that like they're God's gift. I think. I think Steve does have. I did see somebody put out quite a bit of the. Was it Shad Squash? Did like most of the effects on the Odysseus. This one, obviously, this system doesn't have an effect, even though it's a war monument. Be careful near Geth. Okay, I will. Cloud Ring does look pretty. So actually, it's worth. So yesterday, I was going to stream a couple of things. I've been meaning to talk about Raid some more. I wanted to do some more Eve tourism stuff. But with the announcement of the winter event, I did want to cover that. We will cover it today. Today we're going to be covering the winter event, the other news, the New Eden news, as well as then watching the and reacting to the CCP Okami video and the Nerds video. probably in opposite order, just because I think the Okami video is going to be more juicy. So I feel like doing the Okami video first and then the Nerds video is going to make us kind of be like, why are we watching the Nerds video? But we'll see. Oh, also, there's a Pulse video too. So there's a bunch of stuff to go over today. Yeah, that cryotech is going to be good to farm and make ISK. Yeah, so we're going to talk about all that. But talking about that got me started along the lines of like wanting to talk about ore again. And obviously I've done several videos in which we go over kind of what's been going on with everything with ore and Mordu. In fact, I have a really good 2-part video from Mordu from about a year ago. That thankfully will make it. Yeah, no, you're not joking. So I can't remember who it was. Somebody taught me how to do tab groups. So now I've started to, by the end of the day, okay, hold on. This was my 3rd attempt yesterday to write a conspiracy board for Outer Ring excavations. I really think that I want to do a Outer Ring. They talk about the lore narrative, and yeah, well, I'm hoping for that. That's good. I think that a conspiracy board for Upwell is well-founded, but it's going to take some time to lay it all out and make sure it's all right. But either way, you know, I was going through all of the lore again for Ore, Mordu, Upwell, and, you know, everything that kind of connects to that, which, spoiler alert, is basically everything. So, you know, fell down a rabbit hole of organizing things. Hey, what's up, Sam? Got a couple new tab groups. So one of the things I think, so I made that like 8-hour-long video before, and I made one edited version of it, one piece of it, and that got released and people liked it. And I haven't actually gotten around to editing the rest of it out yet. Could be useful. But the point is that as I'm working through this, I realized that there's these like key, and I have noticed this before, but like there are these specific threads, right? An event happens, there's things that happen to it, and then it kind of quiets down again, right? Like, so like, for instance, the Dread attacks, right? That was a sequence of events, and yeah, it harkens back to some previous stuff and it leads to some future stuff, but that's an event. And so it might be worth like breaking down an individual event to get maybe more manageable length videos. That said, anytime you touch ore, you fall down a rabbit hole of pain and misery. The worst part about it was, or not the worst part, but like what got me really going was the very first event, which is Mordu meeting with the ore leader in 2000, well, in YC106. The problem with that is that in that series, in like the 2006 or YC106 to YC108 time period of the lore, they refer to Orion Mashev or Mastiff as like the founder of ore, and then everywhere else in the lore it says that Yanni was the founder of ore, and then in the wiki it says that Yanni and Orion were co-founders and that Yanni retired in YC103. So like, but I don't know if that wiki was like a resolution of like conflicting information or like how to even interpret it. But like, that's the kind of thing that got me very squirrely yesterday. So I was trying to like make sure I had certain things really locked down with my understanding of how these characters play out over time. For instance, I found out that the Operation Permafrost, because I was trying to get like things together, and I hope to present on Monday my story of like the history of Frontline and Ore's experiments with spooky stuff, which will of course lead straight into the Winter Nexus. I will give you a spoiler right now that Sancha actually has very little to do with the lore of Ore. So, you know, the fact that Sancha is the other, I can't like, and this is why Sancha and Ore are fighting over sites in the winter event. Funny enough, I couldn't find a single like meaningful piece of history in which Ore, or even really to a certain extent Upwell, ever deals with Sancha. They deal with Serpentis, Angels, Garistus, every freaking paramilitary organization in history, you know, whatever. But like the fact that they threw in Sancha with the White Storm it feels like it's something that they've never actually worried about explaining or excusing, other than the fact that they're there. So we'll see if we get that this year. But either way, I digress. I do want to show off one fun thing that I found in my discoveries, or in my hunting around yesterday. Yeah. Which is that we've been talking, somebody brought up a while ago, the whole thing about dead space pockets, right? And why are there dead space pockets? Now, dead space, oh man, actually, now that I've said that, hold on. EVE Online, dead space. What is it? Does it actually explain what dead space is? Hold on. Well, I can't find... Okay, I can't find any... or like, I'm not gonna start looking for it right now, but I do want to show off this little piece of information from YC126. So this is 2004 when the game first came out. Now, to put a little bit of perspective in this, this is actually as Upwell is announcing that they're going to be releasing POS sticks and moon mining capabilities. So in this world in which, like, there's an argument, the empires are actually actively trying to stop Upwell, or not Upwell, or from releasing space colonization tools to Capsuleers, this happens, which is rogue drone infestation discovered but kept secret. This was November 4th, YC106, which is 2004. Like, so basically a year after the game has come out. A report filtered out from reliable sources within Inner Circle of Concord has revealed that a huge infestation of rogue drones were found well within Empire space. There's a strong indication that the recently discovered swarm constitutes a new breed of drones. The leaked report further states that this discovery was made some weeks ago, but it's been carefully kept under wrap by Concord since. The reason given the exact nature of this new breed is as of yet not fully understood, and the presence as curious bystanders can lead to infestations or contaminations of these vessels, spreading the rogue drones even further. The report also claims that the rogue drone hive was discovered in a so-called dead space pocket, which explains why it remained undetected for so long. Many feel like this claim discredits the whole report, as even every spacefarer knows that dead space is totally inaccessible. Since the dead space phenomenon was first discovered centuries ago, many have tried to unlock the secrets of entering these elusive areas, but to no avail. That semi-sentient entities like rogue drones have mastered dead space sounds frankly ludicrous. Nevertheless, there's a grain of truth to be found in the report, and it will be interesting to see how Concord officials, especially officials, respond to the leaked report. So basically, this is as of 2004, YC106, the EVE universe understood that dead space pockets exist. Dead space pockets are basically an area of like gravitational neutrality, you know? So the idea is that like warp systems use gravity wells in order to lock onto things. And so a dead space pocket is an area of space in which there is no gravity well or anything that can be locked onto in order to warp to them, right? And so the idea is that these dead space pockets they're not quite Lagrange points. I don't think that they're Lagrange points. Because like, if you think about it, the Lagrange points are, well, I mean, Lagrange points might create a dead space pocket, but the idea is that there's just these areas of space in which there's low to no gravitational interference, and therefore the warp drives have no capacity to like lock onto them. So they're not navigatable, right? But they found this rogue drone hive that happened to be in a dead space pocket. This is also why you can't warp within a dead space pocket, because basically your sensors can't lock onto things correctly, cannot navigate the gravitational like environment correctly because of the fact that it's dead space, right? So then Concord admits to hiding facts regarding the infestation. This is, I think, 2 days later. Yes, 2 days later, Inner Circle of Concord releases a rare press statement yesterday. The statement confirms the authenticity of the report that leaked earlier this week. A rogue drone hive was indeed found recently well within Empire space, though the exact location is still held secret. Concord officials state that the rogue drone discovered constitutes a new breed and their exact nature is still to be determined. Concord wants to make sure that these new drones are not capable of spreading their evil influences to nearby space vessels before the location of the new hive will be revealed. It is estimated that a full investigation of the matter will take close to 2 weeks. The official promise full cooperation with the public from now on. However, that promise may have been broken if Caldari representative to Concord, Tashin Ernabata, is anything to go by. Ernabata says that the accidental discovery of the hive within dead space opens up interesting possibilities for the empires in increasing their power and security in space. The empires are planting warp beacons within known dead spaces to allow drone sweepers to enter and clear out any rogue drone hives. Ernabata says that the state considers access to these warp beacons a state secret and should be guarded by the empires. The state is already planning to construct complexes in dead space within its borders, and wanted them to be out of bounds to the general public. The other empires are still to comment on this, but many be persuaded by the Caldari to follow suit and keep dead space warp beacons hidden. So as soon as they figured out the way, so these rogue drones were building hives in the dead space pockets. And it seems that they used those in order to plant warp beacons in those dead space pockets. So that's how those beacons get there, right? So they plant these beacons in there knowing that, like, well, if they have these things, allow their systems to lock onto them and warp to them. But if they're the only ones that have access to them, then they basically have secret sites, black sites everywhere. And that's great. So they want to keep this secret in their own thing now that this is becoming available. The statement released by the Inner Circle concludes by describing how the rogue drone hives in dead space was discovered a few weeks ago. Transmission with a freighter from one of the empires, presumably the empire where the hive is located, was suddenly lost while it was in transit. The freighter was carrying new types of implants valuable enough to warrant a strong search party being sent out. The area where the freighter was lost was located close to a dead space bubble, a phenomenon known for a long time, but considered to be of no interest due to its inaccessibility. But after a fruitless search for days, the leader of the search party finally decided to search close to the dead space bubble, and there he has received faint signals from the freighter from within the dead space. Further probing revealed an ancient acceleration gate on its outskirt. The gate was only capable of handling a frigate-sized ships, so a couple were sent in. There they were immediately set upon by dozens of rogue drones. Only one of the frigates returned to tell the story. That residing within the dead space bubble was a vast hive of rogue drones, though to be thought to be long extinguished from Empire space. So, obviously this is, again, 2004, very beginning of the game. So outside of the lore, this is the explanation of why anomalies exist in EVE. This is the story of how anomalies got introduced into EVE Online. And so the idea is that, like, so these Minmatar, the original acceleration gates were built by Minmatar a long, long time ago. But so the rogue drones had begun to use these things in order to access dead space pockets. Infestation under control, dead space debate rages. So this is now, again, 3 days later. Concord has issued a statement declaring the potential rogue drone infestation has been squashed in its infancy. The infestation was widely feared to be the discovery of huge drones hives hidden within dead space in various locations around Empire space. Under the leadership of Concord, the Empires have undertaken a massive cleanup operation against the rogue drones, clearing those hives already discovered out. The statement also reveals that warp beacons used to pinpoint locations within dead space was given by Concord to the Empires to help them in their drone sweeping efforts. The Empires have now declared their interest in using the warp beacons along with their ingenious acceleration gate technology employed by the rogue drones to build up their own infrastructure in dead space locations. To secure their interests, they have united to keep access to the warp beacons restricted to only the Empires themselves. Caldari scientists have already reverse engineered the modified acceleration gates, allowing them to be manufactured. It is believed that the Caldari state used the gates as leverage in securing the support of other empires by promising to sell them gates at a very reasonable price. Liberal politicians, mainly from the Federation, have denounced this decision. They claim it will stifle the expansion of independent pilot industry, which has looked so promising in recent months. So Concord develops the method of, like, placing these beacons in these dead space pockets, distributes those to the empires, and then the Caldari state takes the information from the acceleration gates used by the rogue drones and begins to manufacture them. And so they rapidly begin colonizing dead space pockets. New 25ers group to fight Empire monopoly on dead space. The 25ers were activists that a little over a century ago fought the empires over freedom enjoyed by independent pilots. The 25ers, their struggle long since won, then faded into obscurity. But now, unidentified activists, believing to be Galanteans, have revived the old grassroots organization to fight the Empress or the Empires over access to dead space. The original 25ers group laid the foundation of the independent pilot community, unattached to the empires that fostered them at first. The pioneering work of the 25ers have been taken for granted for so long that most pilots don't even know that they owe their independence to this century-old activist group. But some have remembered, it seems, and are now ready to tackle the empires once more. We're not going into the 25ers today. Just they're a group in the story at the moment. As reported recently, the Empires decided to keep to themselves the warp beacon technology necessary for dead space access. Dead space offers a unique opportunity in allowing the space installations that are inaccessible to all but those with the means to link with the warp beacons. Naturally, the Empires have taken every care to make the warp beacons and their signals totally unhackable. Or as one Caldari scientist triumphantly put it, quote, "You could link all the quantum computers in the world together and you still wouldn't be able to crack the code." I do love it every single time EVE Online refers to something as the world, as if it's like everywhere instead of the cluster. But I digress. The 25ers have vowed to use any means necessary to crack the warp beacon code and break the monopoly the Empires currently enjoy on dead space. They will undoubtedly receive support in this endeavor from all freedom-loving pilots and pilot corporations that don't want to be frozen out of dead space and the opportunities it presents. But only time will tell if this latest 25ers campaign will meet with success or humiliating defeat. So then, guess what? So they have these unhackable beacons. Ready? The unhackable beacons are hacked by, wait for it, the dead space warp beacons proclaimed to be unhackable by the Caldari scientists that build them have been hacked. Not by any nefarious government agency bent on industrial espionage. No, the hacker has turned out to be a 17-year-old Galantean girl. The story has been well covered by The Scope. The family of the 17-year-old Ledette Ressoit was moving to a new home in the Gion constellation, traveling a high-tech vessel owned by Ledette's scientist father. Ledette missed her favorite soap opera, The Adventures of White Lightning, from her old home planet and decided to try to find it amongst the stellar wavelengths en route to her new home. Ledette possessed just enough technical knowledge to be able to put the equipment on her father's ship to good use, but not enough to realize how hopeless her task was. Undeterred, she set out to scan her surrounding space lanes and ended up finding the signal used by the Empires for dead space warp beacons, quite by accident. The Empire technicians are still trying to understand how Ledette managed to do what she did, but to the common man, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that what the Empires intended to keep top secret is now out in the open, accessible to anyone interested in knowing how to enter dead space locations. So, whoopsie. I guess everybody gets them now. Thanks for putting up the infrastructure. Empires escalate dead space construction as competition heats up. This is now jump forward 7 more days, so we're getting pretty close to the 2-week mark that they were talking about. All the empires that make up the civilized parts of space are putting increased emphasis on dead space complexes now that the technology behind keeping them secret has been compromised. The empires are keen to keep unwanted parties out of dead space areas within their border, and the only way to do that is to occupy them for themselves. This move comes as no surprise, as it is only a matter of time before other factions catch up with the complex technology and start building their own complexes in dead space. It is already rumored that pirate factions have launched cleanup operations of their own dead space areas, clearing out any rogue drone infestations in preparation for this. Though commendable from the point of view of checking any possible rogue drone plagues, many feel that dead space pirates' havens are just as bad. Details are still vague on how exactly the 17-year-old Ledette Ressoit managed to break the encryption guarding the warp beacon signals used to enter dead space. The Caldari state has launched an internal investigation into the matter, but any findings will most likely be kept under wraps, especially as the Caldari are feeling rather embarrassed that the encryption technology that they devised and flaunted as being unbreakable was so easily brushed aside by a teenager to boot. However, this is of little interest to the common pilots. All they care about is that the efforts of Ressoit now allow them to experience dead space for themselves, for better or worse. And then followed by, like, 4 months later, we get, according to the bi-monthly report submitted by the DED Observation and Analysis Subcommittee yesterday, the numbers of illegal dead space outposts harboring dangerous elements are steadily increasing on the fringes of Concord Police Space. The Guristas and Sanchez Nation are among the criminal organizations known to be building new outposts in various locations along the divide of the Outer Rim frontier. Centis Sancha, the nation's wing of Dead Space operatives, have, according to the report, built a new type of true power complex, the first of Sancha's outposts to be branded a level 10 on the DED's threat assessment scale. Additionally, Gristis leaders have reportedly authorized the schematic of a new type of penal complex, which the organization intends to build in several locations. The report brought some good news as well. Due to no small part to constant raids by Capsuleer fighter pilots and Navy forces, the resources of the Angels and the Serpentis have been weakened, leaving some of their most powerful strongholds in a somewhat weakened state. The DED has publicly commended the tireless efforts of Capsuleer organizations to this end and remains firm on the belief that with their help, the tide of intergalactic crime may continue to be stemmed. Well, I don't know about that, but this is how we get dead space pockets. It's why you require a dead space beacon in order to warp to the dead space pocket. It's why all warp to the dead space pocket and anything within the dead space pocket is always in regards to the beacon. And it's why with events like the Winter Harvest or anything like that can suddenly discover sites all over the universe, because the idea is that there, dead space isn't that rare in the universe in any given system, but only when the individual beacons are exposed for one reason or another do they become observable and lockable by us Capsuleers. So that's it. That's the story of Dead Space, or at least why we have Dead Space pockets, or why we have why most pirate sites and why most of the sites that we run are in Dead Space pockets, was because of this sequence of events that led them to become the go-to place to build secret facilities back in 2004 and 2005. I hope that this has been fun. This should be edited out for everybody else. So if you're watching this after the fact, thank you very much. If you're watching this live, keep watching. But otherwise, I hope that this kind of shorter snippet of information when it comes to the lore was somewhat useful to you. Like the video if you did like it. And let me know if there's anything else about Dead Space that I might know, or what is your favorite Dead Space pocket. Maybe I should go check it out. Otherwise, I've been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. Until next time, I'll see you in space. Whee! Okay, so that is Dead Space. Let's start talking about other things. We should do the New Eden news next. Let's do the New Eden news next. Ready? Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, and this is your New Eden news for December 4th, YC127. Fractures bring both profits and unrest to New Eden. Phased field fractures blamed on drifter wormhole occupiers. An investigation has linked the space-time fractures appearing across New Eden to hyperspace network testing taking place in drifter wormhole systems. According to a joint team of scientists from Concord and the Society of Conscious Thought, the energy signatures surrounding the fractures match those recorded around the unidentified drifter nexus structures during the drifter crisis. Each of these structures has a unique energy signature. The fractures contain all 5 signatures, implicating all 5 occupiers. These structures and the hyperspace network they connect to have been the subject of extensive testing by the drifter wormhole occupying groups. According to the investigation team, these occupiers have been carrying out reckless experiments resulting in the proliferation of the fractures. The 5 occupying forces are the Amar Empire, the Caldari State, Edencom, the Mimitar Republic, and the Triglavian Collective. All 5 are known to have been conducting hyperspace network research. This network was used extensively by the drifters throughout last year's drifter crisis, and the structures were focal points of drifter activity during the final days of that conflict. An emergency meeting of the Concord Inner Circle was called to discuss the implications of the investigation. Despite the evidence presented by the investigation team, Amar, Caldari, and Mimitar representatives have all denied any responsibility for the creation of the fractures. Concord has also announced plans for a closed-door hearing to review the actions of Edencom. Provost Marshal Kasia Valkanir, head of Aegis in the Edencom project, has also denied any wrongdoing. She claims that, quote, "The integrity and safety of New Eden are at the core of our organization's remit. We would never knowingly take actions to put either of those things at risk," end quote. The Triglavians, however, have not joined the other occupiers in denying responsibility. Despite being outside of Concord's control, they have chosen to respond with the following statement. All ancient enemy Azdaja must face extirpation. All tools of the ancient enemy Azdaja must face extirpation. Only then can the ancient domains be brought within the flow of Viraj. Only then is advanced time stability within the domains Buyan Istana. Fitness brings stability. Proving reveals fitness. Risk guarantees proving. Or move swiftly to unlock phased field profits. OR has been quick to release the suite of new technologies that unlock the riches held inside of the phased fields that surround these fractures. While many have already begun to take advantage of the new opportunities phased field offer, others question how OR was able to develop the new tech so soon after the first fracture was sighted. High Priestess Harna Dorado of the Sisters of Eve is one such person. She told the Scope, quote, how OR's phase anchor could be developed without prior observations of phased asteroids, or at least similar phenomena, has perplexed our engineers and research teams, end quote. Phased asteroids, which appear within our reality as fractures, move through a phased field containing unique erratic ores that can be processed into a variety of minerals. In order to efficiently mine these asteroids, a miner must utilize one of OR's patented phase anchors, which brings the asteroid into phase with local space. The Upwell Consortium, of which OR is a member, has been in a public research partnership with Edencom, assisting their drifter wormhole experimentation. If there was advanced evidence of these phased asteroids before the first fractures were spotted in New Eden, it is possible that OR has access to that information. Both the consortium's board and Edencom has denied these accusations as unfounded rumors. The consortium released an official statement refuting these rumors, ending with, quote, our business is founded on a bond of reliability and trust with the people of New Eden, and we would never betray that trust, end quote. News in brief. Community leaders in JITA joined PKN Interstellar in celebrating 6 years of HyperNet relay. Thucker nomads prosper as rapid response doctrines enable phase field exploitation. Verity enhancements develop new logistical automation delivery drone tech. Concord Cartographers Gala in Uli celebrates new cluster mapping technology. Or upgrades onboard mining sensors across all ships in response to growing demand. Delegates in Astrogeological Society in New Eden agrees on rationalized naming conventions. Sister Hannah Kazmira honored by Reverend Mother Sentimona Sarpati for Odysseus design. Questions raised over Concord AI mandates as Iris consults with SCC over improved Plex transaction logging. And that is it for your New Eden news on December 4th, YC127. Now some analysis. So these guys, so this is obviously the phased fields, which are the main, this is the first of the gold rush sites that were introduced in Catalyst expansion. There's usually about 4 or 5 of these, it would seem, exposed at any given time, which means there's probably equal amount of those hidden. Might be 5. That might make sense given the fact that there are 5 different wormholes. But, you know, we've been kind of dancing around this, and this is our first actual news report that confirms what we kind of suspected about these fractures. When you go into the fractures, you can actually see the wreckage of drifter structures inside of the fractures. We've looked at them in previous episodes. And so the idea is that basically the drifters created these hyperspace lanes in order to move around during the drifter crisis that was controlled through their drifter nexus. And then when the empires and when the 5 groups took over the wormholes, there was a summit while at FanFest to decide kind of the future of these holes. And while they did agree that they should share the technology, they also agreed on doing destructive testing of the hyperspace network. And obviously, you know, this is a pretty significant disruption in the hyperspace, in space-time. But we have yet to know kind of where this is going to go. You know, it has been noted that the phasing of these fields seems very similar to the phasing that we see on Jovian Stargates. And whether or not how this relates to like dead space or even abyssal space hasn't quite been cleared up yet. But what we do know is that the attempt to create these hyperspace networks and then make tests within it have led to even more fractures in spacetime. These aren't the first fractures in spacetime, and actually pretty soon we have the winter event is coming, probably, you know, within a week or so of this recording. And the winter event actually focuses on these volatile ice storms, which is a type of metaliminal storm, which metaliminal storms were an earlier break in space-time, where basically the idea is that all of our traveling and moving between abyssal dead space and regular space by us and the Triglavians had led to basically ruptures in the boundaries between abyssal dead space and local space, causing abyssal space effects to bleed into known space, and that was the abyssal storms. And of course, during the winter event, we have special winter storms that actually suck the thermal energy out of New Eden via tiny wormholes that look a little bit like snowflakes. So, you know, this idea that like all of this war that we've been doing with the Drifters and the Triglavians are being fairly disruptive to local space-time. But, you know, like good capitalists, often we look at these things and we see them as opportunities, right? Somebody could see this and say like, well, this looks extremely dangerous. But we, being immortal capsuleers, see this and go, wow, that's extremely lucrative, which is a very Eve way of doing it. Now, obviously, they're going to deny any wrongdoing, but it is worth noting, like there has been, we did have the ore facility, you know, the ore convoys that seem to be taking stuff out of the drifter hives, and then you know, later the hollow clone debacle with ore during the Crimson Harvest event. So, you know, ore has been doing some pretty strong research and development with this stuff. It is interesting that like it does kind of seem odd that like, oh yeah, these empires didn't realize that this was going to happen, but they were prepared to capitalize on it when it does. Something's fishy here. I'm sure we're going to find more information as time goes on, but I don't think that this is the last thing we're going to get from the Drifter Hives and their experimentation. This is just the beginning. Now, as far as the news in brief, you know, HyperNet Relay created by PKN, and they also are the ones that did the JITA 4.4 renovation. That would be LIDI, NOH, and CBD corporations, mega corporations within the Caldari. Break space time with a little more so we can get more ore. Hey, yeah. Here, have a tool that helps you take advantage of our breaking space. Exactly. It seems very... we didn't do it, but we'll help you exploit it. Thucker nomads prosper on rapid raids. I think this is just like showing off that those who are more nomadic, obviously of all of the empires that would be able to capitalize on this, the Thucker would be able to capitalize on it the most. They are, you know, highly nomadic people that are connected to wormholes and other stuff like that. Verdi Entertainment. So this is actually tied to the winter event, which we'll go into in a separate event, you know, whatever. But just for the New Eden news, there is an additional thing being added to the winter event, which are these haulers that can be hunted down during the winter event that are called the Yule Lads, which of course is a whole thing with the winter event with CCP forever, since before there's a winter event, because the Yule Lads are an Icelandic tradition. But LAD, lad, is logistical automation delivery drone tech. So this is just a setup for the winter event. So is this. Although, actually, I think that this Concord Cartographers Gala in Uli celebrates new cluster mapping technologies. This is the celebration of the new 2D map and how popular it has been. Ore upgrades, onboard mining sensors. That's the fact that you can now scan your ore on any mining vessel. But then also in the patch notes from just the other day, we have they improved that system to make it so that the surveyor now works on the mineral value of the ore rather than the ore itself, because ore is rare. There is a lot of ore that is rarely traded non-compressed, and so just getting the value of the uncompressed ore is sometimes meaningless. And so they've fixed the surveyor. So they not only added the surveyor, but then they also updated it to make it even better. So which one of these two things that it's like pointing out, who knows, probably both. And then delegates at Astrogeological Society and New Eden agree on rationalized naming convention. This is, of course, the renaming of the asteroids. A lot of asteroids, not all asteroids, like Moon Ore didn't get renamed, but I think it's the asteroid ore, for the most part, did get named. So now instead of like dense Feldspar and concentrated Feldspar, it's now Feldspar 1, Feldspar, or, you know, Feldspar 2, grade 2, Feldspar grade 3, etc. And then, you know, Sister Hana Kazmira was the creator of the Odysseus design. We looked at that in a previous episode, and we can also, you can see that in the description of the Odysseus. And then this is actually an interesting one. It's less, this is more of a throwaway thing. This is about the Plex. So now we have a Plex transaction logging, which is in a limited rollout right now. It's only like 30 days, but they're going to eventually make it better. CCP likes to throw in like conspiracy things when it comes to features that like people rely on. And this is what led to like me making that tinfoil video a few years ago. But the idea is that, so this is saying that Iris, who is of course the artificial intelligence created by Paragon, is working with the SEC over improved Plex transaction logging. And, you know, that kind of makes sense because Iris via Paragon are big on the Skinner component system, right? They're the ones that run all of the Skinner customization tools and stuff like that. And therefore they are the ones that have like really necessitated Plex logging. Before Skinner sales, nobody really worried about the fact that they didn't have a Plex log, but now they do. And it seems like they're getting AI. They're using AI to power our Plex transaction logging system. So I'm sure nothing will ever go wrong with that either. So that's it. That's your New Eden news for December 4th, YC127 with its analysis. I have been Ashtarothi. Thank you all for checking this out. If you're watching this after the fact, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. What do you think? What do you think? Just wild prediction. Who wants to see who's going to be right? What is going to be the next kind of a gold rush site that's going to come after these fractured sites? What else is going to go wrong that's going to lead us to new riches? I would say wrong answer only, but I mean, at this point, who knows? Maybe you'll get maybe you'll be prophetic. But if you're watching this live, hang tight. But otherwise, I want to thank everybody for liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing this with everybody else. I've been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. Until next time, I'll see you in space. Okay, we're like, we'll see if I ever edit these out, but that's the big problem always. But let's go ahead and jump into the next topic. Maybe, hold on. Feels a lot like the shooter event convoy tech. Okay, I want to talk about that in a second. Perhaps a wormhole that goes to a place with 3 black holes orbiting each other. No, I actually, so I have a prediction with that. I've talked about this before. Like there's some indications that the EVE Frontiers and EVE Online are happening at the same time. And, you know, infomorphs are just data. And so like there has been a lot of stuff on the EVE Frontier side to like rediscovering the past, building new tech, you know, building up the technology or whatever. And, you know, the Frontier started when the archivist, I can't remember who, like the keeper, whatever, like woke up because they detected a star's explosion and the colonies and stuff surrounding it, which seemed a little bit like the Caroline Star event, which is one of the reasons why we think these are happening at the same time. And so if the keeper convinces the people that if the keeper convinces the riders, which is what they're called in EVE Frontiers, to build a network array, they might be able to contact at some point New Eden, which would then allow infomorphs to transport between the two without necessarily being able to transport things. And then, like, you know, in EVE Frontiers physics would work that way because it's special weird physics due to the triple black hole. And in EVE Online, things exist, things play out the way that they play out. CCP Hilmar has even suggested that this is how they would do it if they ever wanted to do such a thing. So it just kind of makes sense. And I'm not saying that they're going to do this. What I'm saying is that they have left the breadcrumbs in place so that way if later they want to do it, they can. So they have left open the door for a crossover, but it'll be a crossover through FTL communication, basically. Which, I mean, makes a lot of sense. Hey, what's up, Ragtag? Welcome, welcome. Okay, so let's jump into what's coming. Actually, let's do what happened this week first. So just a quick thing. We've been talking about this a little bit. Control access to your freelance jobs has come out. So, freelance jobs, first there were corporation projects, which allowed you to kind of coordinate and do things and automate services for your membership and kind of guide your membership in what to do by offering rewards and tasks for people to complete. And then later on came freelance jobs with Legion, which allowed us to make projects that are public to the world. The most obvious one, and therefore the one that has kind of become the most used, eventually came out, which was the turn in an item, which has become kind of a more just a way to get around buy orders in a way. But there are actually all different kinds of freelance jobs, and people have done them some pretty cool ways. In particular, I think that the ones around faction warfare have been very successful. But the biggest problem is that so you could restrict them based on skill points or time in the game, I think it was, or how long that they've been in the game. But the problem was that corporate projects were only for the corporation, not the alliance. And so we've always wanted alliance level projects. And so this is the tool that it takes to kind of finish the loop when it comes to how you control your freelance jobs. So now the first update to Catalyst is here, bringing access control list restrictions to freelance jobs. This allows project creators to decide who can and cannot see the listed jobs. Want to blacklist your rival alliance? Done. Want to make it so only members of a certain corporation see your postings? You got it. Want to put out a hit on a rival capsuleer corporation and make sure your target remains unaware? Mum's the word. A new freelancing skill has also been added, allowing capsuleers to accept more than 3 freelance jobs at a time. Explore available freelance jobs via the Air Opportunity interface. At the same time, the costs associated with freelance jobs have been reduced. The duration fee is down by 25%, and the broadcasting fee has been cut by 1/3. So, the freelance jobs do have a fee in the way that corporation jobs don't. And that's mostly to just make sure that there's a cost. You're putting something out there. It can definitely be a scam. There has to be, there's a cost for putting up the job and then for every site that you broadcast from, right? Because you have to have an office and then it broadcasts a certain number of jumps away from that system. And so you can broadcast from multiple offices in order to have them be visible in more areas of space. But those, they were very wary about, how this was going to all play out, because it was one of those things that putting this much power in the player's hands is spooky for a game like EVE Online and a company like CCP. And so they kind of put out the most conservative version of it they can, and now they're and one of those things was high costs make it so that people are less likely to just F around with it, right? So now they're going to be reducing the costs, and they're making it so these access control lists are there so you can make proper alliance contracts now, or jobs now, which is awesome. And it's actually makes sense that they would have to lower the cost now, because it's well, if I want corporation projects to be alliance wide, freelance projects cost money to put up. So it's without this cut in money, it would definitely be it's too much to spend to do alliance jobs. But so they're trying to balance this, I think. I think that this is going to have a lot of potential. We're going to see how creative players are with it. Access control lists have been a fun thing for people that want to sell bookmarks, for example. That has been a very fringe thing that people have gotten into. We'll have to see whether or not anybody actually really creates a good system within this, where people want to join their access list to be, like a bounty hunter club or whatever, where bounties are posted to a set number. You have to be on the access control list, but if you are, you get access to all of the bounties for the bounty hunter club, for example, just as a throwaway idea, right? We'll see whether or not any of that actually comes out of this. But if anybody knows anybody who's been using these opportunities, the new ACL opportunities, I'd be interested to hear what kind of things are happening with it. Unfortunately, unlike normal projects, I can't just open it up and see, because if I'm not on the ACL, I can't see it, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, it it's going to be weird because like if you want to have a program that people get invested in, like how do you have both security and visibility, right? That's going to be the big question. Do you put out like a public one that invites people in and then have a private one that is that people can join and have access to? We'll just have to see. The fees were actually a bit high if you wanted to reach a bunch of players, so reducing that's probably good. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like it was intentionally high at first in order to ensure that abuse was constrained to a minimum if there was going to be abuse. Also wanted to be sure the UI didn't die under the pressure of loading all the contracts. Yeah, that's true also. Like, you know, if they make if suddenly there's a billion opportunities that get put up and like the opportunity system has to query them all in order to figure out which ones you can and cannot see, that could be a problem. That could be, yeah, my opportunities window still hates loading all of them. Man, can CCP please get better at lazy loading? I'm just going to say that right now. Like, lazy loading is a thing. If anybody in CCP wants to talk to me about how to implement lazy loading, we can do that. The fact that loading things on your UI locks up the entire screen is a rookie mistake, I'll say, from a programmer's point of view. But I digress. I am interested to hear if anybody is jumping in on these so far. And then in addition to that, we already talked about the mining surveyor UI got changed to now be the market price of the minerals as opposed to the ore, which is still not perfect, but is better. And is interestingly enough, because there are some things where that ends up not being like correct. It's like Kernite. Well, actually, if you evaluate it by the minerals, it'll give you a much lower value than you can sell it for as an ore. And again, as I've said before, I actually really like this. I like that there are things that you can learn that are counterintuitive that give you a little bit of an edge. It's not a real big problem if people just use Kernite and compress it and never think twice about it. But to the savvy person who knows, that knowledge is still something that they can take advantage of. So that's good, in my opinion. Yeah, I started getting the market lockups you were having. Yeah. I even tried, today I tried to open up just the like special editions commodity, and that locked up my computer, my game for like 10 seconds. It was, or more. It was very sad. And then freelance jobs, freelancing skills. The freelance skill, ACLs can be character, corporation, alliance, blah, blah, blah. Changes to ACL affects job visibility and participation, but will not remove existing participants. That's interesting. So the job's ACL cannot be swapped, but the contents of the ACL may be edited at any time. So if you have a job that's controlled by an ACL, you can then add somebody to the ACL, and that will allow them to now see the job. But if somebody's already accepted the job and you remove them from the ACL, they will still have the job. If an ACL that's attached to a freelance job is deleted, only the active participants of the job are able to contribute. No other capsulators can accept the job, so that basically breaks the job. Blocked characters cannot see or access relevant job listings, even with a direct link. The job creator and corporation project manager also always retains full access regardless of restrictions. And there's the new skill, freelancing, which allows you to have up to 11 freelance jobs. And duration fee is reduced by 25%, broadcasting fee reduced by 33%. And a new column has been added to allow everybody to see allow people to see the alliance of the participants in the freelance jobs, which is good. It's just one of the so many people only know the alliances and not all the member corporations of alliance, right? And then change the ore price preview for price per unit to price per M3. This is also a really good change. Now, obviously, again, like, so yes, it's good to have little things that somebody can figure out to give them a small edge. Knowing that Kernite is actually worth more to sell rather than reprocess is cool. Hold on a second. However, the fact, like, having to do that extra work is that, like, complexity versus depth thing that I was talking about, I think, the other day, where, like, it's cool to know that there's a difference between the two. And, you know, when you're trying to figure out which one is more valuable by, like, mining the rocks, having to do that math is kind of interesting. But the fact that it presents that information to you and you're supposed to make that decision on the information that's being presented to you, and having that information be more or less incomplete and require you to do the math every single time is less fun. So I actually agree. If you're going to have something like the survey scanner work the way it does, then it should actually give you a value that you can work with rather than a bad value. So changing it to M3 and changing it to the mineral prices, I think is good, because it creates this thing where you can rely on those numbers and feel pretty good about that. But there are still these minor edge cases in things like Kernite and Amber that a savvy person might be able to maximize on, right? Good balance, in my opinion. Also, slash commands via chat has been disabled. This actually makes me sad. But, you know, I guess people were using this to effectively automate actions. If you used to be able to, because Eve is a very old game, right? Eve is a very, very old game. It actually, like, a lot of Eve's design, like the core, the root, the building blocks by which Eve is built, is closer to a mud than World of Warcraft, right? It predates World of Warcraft. And so things like slash commands in chat is a very normal thing in these kinds of world. That's where, really, I was doing smart bomb writing with slash commands. Well, now you can't. This was a thing that got brought up, or, you know, either way, I guess people were doing it like you were, and CCP felt that was a little bit too close to automation, and so they got rid of the slash commands via chat. It was pointed out, so there is one really cool chat slash command that existed, which was the ability to open your overview settings, right? So if you want to open up your overview settings, you usually have to go to the little 3 dots here and then go to open overview settings. But you could actually like with a slash command, open up any overview window, or open up any major window in the game. So now if I dock up here, I can dock up, right? Hold on. If I dock, gosh darn it. There you go. You can make a macro with your mouse. Well, yeah, you can still hit like F1 through F8 or whatever. That's still fine. And if you make a macro with your mouse to do all at once, that's probably not something I would admit to, and I would caution you against that. But, you know, I ain't your dad. Or CCP. So the problem here is that if I dock up, if I am docked, I don't have an overview in order to open up my overview settings, right? I fail to see how a slash command would be different than assigning it to a hotkey if you're running multiple commands at once through any method that's against TOS, right? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that assigning all of your modules to a single button is because, like, if you notice in the client, you cannot assign all of your modules to a single button. So if you use another service, like your mouse's software, to make it so that one mouse click actually does like 10 mouse clicks, that's technically against the rules. That's input, not input broadcasting per se, but that, like, you're supposed to get one click, one action, right? So I would be very hesitant to do that if I were you. That said, if you go into your escape settings and go to shortcuts window, there is an unassigned open overview settings. It's unassigned by default, but you can assign it to something. Hold on. I want to assign it. Let's go Control L. Yeah. So if I just set it to something, now if I hit that hotkey, I can open it up even when I am in docking bay. So hopefully that helps somebody. One of these days, actually, one of the sessions, one of the things I want to cover on stream one day is all of the hotkeys that I think are A, very, very useful, and B, unbound by default. All right, so let's keep going. Added localization for new faction warfare items, blah, blah, blah. Cool. And then, like I said, they changed the pricing, the freelancing skill, and a little bit of other small fixes. And then, oh yeah, they finally fixed the ore. So with Uprising, not Uprising, what was this game? What was this one? With Catalyst, they had it so that the ore, there was like an omega right here that made it look like the entire tree was omega. I mean, there are still these other ones here, but like there was one right here too. So they got rid of that. Thank you. So that is it for the patch notes from this week. However, there's one more thing that's worth talking about this week, which is that on Reddit, there was somebody who brought up how ridiculous asset safety prices are, especially when it comes to supers and titans. Now, for people who do not know, asset safety, you know, if you have stuff in a player structure and that player structure is destroyed or unanchored, or you decide to manually send stuff to asset safety, as long as the structure is not abandoned or in wormhole space, your stuff will go into asset safety. If you have another structure or station in the same system, it can be brought to that system or it can be brought to that place after 5 days, and will only cost 0.5% of its total value. But if you wait 20 days, I think it is, then it will be moved to the lowest low-sec station, if there isn't one in the system with you, and it will cost you 20% in order to get it out, right? And, you know, obviously asset safety is a very not challenging, debated, controversial. 15%, I think. It should be 20. Hold on. EVE Online Asset Safety. It is 15%. Did it change? Am I having a Mandela effect moment? Okay, well, whatever. We're just going to go with what it says here. 15%. No, yeah, I've been having, this is like the second or third Mandela effect that I've had this week. So maybe it did change. Let me know if it did. But the point is, are the people complaining all Horde X Horde? So like, I'm sure what happened to Horde was a big piece of this, but this is something that has been well known. It has been brought up to me, usually like not like on stream or whatever, but like I've talked to a lot of people in nullsec, especially people that deal with Titans and supers. This was a very well-known issue, that just kind of was brought up publicly and brought attention to it, probably because of the Horde stuff happening. But it is true, which is that, so asset safety uses the estimated value of something in order to figure out whether or not it's, what to charge the person. And the problem with this is just like with the ore, right? With the estimation of the non-compressed ore, because uncompressed ore is not like most people trade ore in compressed, right? If they're importing or exporting, major trade volumes, major transactions involving ore involve the compressed ore, which means the non-compressed ore, which is traded significantly less, is much more inconsistent in how it's priced, right? Because people that know what it's priced are probably going to just go for the compressed ore instead of the uncompressed ore. So the uncompressed ore is much more wild in how it is priced and how it's not really necessarily tied to reality per se. So the less something is traded on the market, the less solid that value is. And supers can't be sold, well, like Titans cannot be docked outside of a keep star. Now, the fact that it can be docked in a keep star means that it can be on the market in theory. But the point here is that there's very little to basically nothing when it comes to market transactions that would let it know how to price supers and Titans. And so it has always been very weird how inconsistent supers and Titans are priced. Actually, hold on. While I'm doing this, let me actually take a second to go to the Reddit post about this. I think I can find it real quick. They need to change drone aggro on Mercden missions, which I'm doing right now. Well, that's how it's supposed to, like, well, they made it so that drones get attacked now, so I don't know. Dang it, now everybody's talking about asset safety. Hold on one second. Because the video in this post, the guy actually makes a really good argument. But now everybody's talking about it. Oh my gosh. Can CCP fix asset safety prices? So here's the post. And this was saying that the Hell is 3.45 billion, the Nyx is 6.75 billion, the Wyvern is 9 billion, and the Aeon is 5.27 billion. And these are all the supercarriers. The Revenant is, of course, the Sancha supercarrier. The Vendetta is 13.6. Avatar is 30. Ragnarok is 16. Leviathan is 9. Erebus is 10. Komodo is 12. Moloch is 5. Azrael is 9. So what you're telling me is a Moloch, a faction Titan, is cheaper than most supercarriers, right? And this is because their value, like, you can't get a solid value on them based on market transaction data because they're not sold that way. Nobody sells a Moloch on the market. So how are they ever going to know how much they are? The other thing is that a lot of these things got locked in at one point and then never got changed. So, but the point is that these numbers just don't make sense on the face of it, right? They're just absurd. It's not just like, oh, I'm complaining about it, like it's too much or too little. It's not a matter of these being too expensive or too cheap. It's a matter of the fact that they are completely inconsistent with any kind of understanding of how these things are actually valued, right? A Moloch should not be worth less than most supercarriers, just period, right? And so that was 5 days ago, and we get an update yesterday that they have changed it. So now all supercarriers are going to be about 3 billion ISK, and Titans will be 10 billion ISK. Now, this is with the 15% fee, so you can multiply up to figure out how they're evaluating them as far as like value goes. And there are some people that are complaining about CCP, like about the numbers that they came up with one way or another. Now people are complaining about whether or not it's too high or too low, but at least they're consistent and logical. At least there is a pattern or a thing to look at. So this is better. Now, granted, I'm going to say Titans and asset safety is breaking the game and continues to break the game. And CCP is not taking fixing the game seriously until they get rid of Titans and asset safety. But I've been on that soapbox enough times in my life that I'm going to just leave it at that for now. They also said that basically anybody who pays these fees after the 25th of November will be reimbursed. Now, this part is feeling very, like, Horde-centric, right? Like, it does make me wonder why they chose the 25th of November. I don't remember. I'd have to look up exactly what happened on the 25th of November to what made that the turnover point. Was that, wait, hold on. Was that Catalyst? Nope. That was way after Catalyst. 21, 24. It was the day after they added the skin lines to the Odysseus. Yeah. When did the Keepstar die? Oh no. I'll have to look that up. I don't know. I think that would be really funny. But either way, 07 Sargon. So yeah, that's basically all of the news for the week. This guy does agree with me. Asset safeties are one of the coffin nails in the game. I think that, like, asset safety can be fine, but asset safety for Titans ruins the balance of the game. I do think that the 25th was 18 days after. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure why they chose the 25th. It'd be fun to know, but I don't know if they say anything about that. People are, of course, going to argue about the price. These changes will primarily affect the Avatar, which had its valuation increased significantly higher than the others. Following this change on Monday, the Leviathan and Erebus has been asset safety fees increase a bit, with the Avatar coming down significantly and the Ragnarok coming down a little bit. By the way, what this does mean in practicality for everybody is if the thing that you are trying to asset safety is cheaper than this right now. So if we go back to these numbers, I don't see any of the super carriers being below 3. But if you have a Leviathan, a Moloch, or an Azrael in asset safety right now, you should asset safety them. You should get them out of asset safety right now. Because what they said was anybody who pays too much will be reimbursed. Anybody who pays too little will just be allowed to pay too little. So if you can get your supercarrier out for less than 3 billion, or your Titan out for less than 10 billion, you should do that now. But it looks to me like that's only going to cover, like I said, the Moloch, the Azrael, and the Waverin. So whatever. Rather, hold on. No, none of the super carriers. Just the Moloch and the Azrael and the Leviathan. Yeah, that's what it was. The Avatar, wow. Wow. There's at least one person that pulled their Avatar out of asset safety on November 10th, or like whatever, November 15th, because he was so excited because he's coming back for the Catalyst expansion, pays his 30 billion, and now is just like, fuck! Put in your ticket. Snuff sees you when you're sleeping. Snuff knows when you're awake. Well, I mean, you know. Is Snuff having fun with the new fractured sites? That's kind of what I want to know. You know you want to gate your cap, so undock for goodness sake. Nice. I like it. All right. So that's it for today's news. We're going to jump. Remember, we still got a bunch of videos to cover today, so today's going to be probably a longer stream. We'll see. But next week, we have Winter Nexus. The Winter Nexus is returning. And now we have more information about it. So I was right in my assumptions that we are basically getting all of the normal Winter Nexus stuff plus a new thing, just like they did with the Crimson Harvest, right? So storms approach New Eden, and Saunchus Nation ushers in the Winter Nexus. From 9th of December to the 12th of January, volatile ice storms will roam the cluster, opening the doors for exciting seasonal events and rewards. Hunt Yule Lads, logistical automated deliveries, and get cryotech that allows access to even more within the storms. And don't miss the Perseverance Ice Mining Destroyer, currently only available through the Winter Nexus Season Reward track. Get started now and don't miss the seasonal reward track extension and a further surprise or two coming in the final week. So it sounds to me like this Perseverance is going to be part of the final track, the initial final track. You're not going to have to wait till the final week of the final track in order to get your Perseverance ice mining destroyer. So TLDR, enter volatile ice storms for seasonal challenges. Hunt ULADs for special tech that unlocks more within the storms. Get daily login rewards, including skill plans, skins, and more. Unlock seasonal challenge rewards, including the Perseverance Ice Mining Destroyer, Plex, skill points, and more. By the way, if you need fits, if you want to get ready, since the sites are probably going to be largely the same, with one little note that we're going to go into in just a second, you can go to Eve Workbench, and you can search for the tag Winter Nexus, and pull up all of the previous Winter Nexus site fits. And they should all probably work for whatever it is that they're supposed to be working on. Now, there is a bit of a caveat when it comes to Marauders, but we're going to look at those. We're going to look at those in a little bit. Maybe it's going to be a Sancha Destroyer. No, I'm just kidding. The fact Pioneer is actually slightly better at gas than Endurance looks like. Maybe? Yeah, that seems right. I want Sancha Tech 3. What would Sancha Tech 3 do? Just add their Afterburner bonus? Yeah, well, man, we've been arguing back and forth so much within our group about Pioneer versus Pioneer Consortium issue versus the Tech 2 frigates. It's been kind of fun. But either way, so these ULADs, which are these haulers, are going to be the new thing. This year, Interbus is launching a cautionary campaign for travelers by dispatching logistical automated delivery vessels, LADs, named after the legendary Yule clones. However, a whistleblower within Verity Enhancements, known only by the codename Yule Qatar, claims to have proof that the Yule lads are not what they seem. Hunting down these automated vessels will get you Verity Cryotech that will unlock new challenges and rewards. For Enforcers, this means access to more dangerous parts of the storm with stronger forces to fight. In HiSec, Marauders will need this Cryotech, specifically the Cryostorm Clarifier, to access combat sites. No such restrictions apply in low-sec or null-sec. However, depositing Cryotech will give access to more challenging and rewarding experiences in all Winter Nexus combat sites. I'm going to read it all, and then we're going to step back into it. Explorers can use this tech to gain access to relays normally scrambled by storm interfaces, which can then be hacked. And the tech will give miners additional recipes for mined ice, which will award enhanced salvaged packages. Cryotech can be deposited into certain structures in and around these sites to unlock these extras. So in addition to the regular Winter Nexus challenges, you can hunt down Yule lads to get more action and reap more rewards. So first of all, there's two kind of steps here. There's the collection of these things, the Yule lad part, and then there's the new pieces to the old sites that are unlocked because of this. So this, the Yule lads could be something like holoclones, or maybe Aura's experimenting with sleeper drone tech. Yeah, or they're just putting out scouts everywhere or whatever. But like, I don't know about the lore, but mechanically, I can tell you exactly what this is, which is perfect. In my opinion, this is great. Okay, I've been talking about this for years, that the EVE Online is a worse place for having lost the Guardian Gala, and more particularly the Hunt, right? You know, there used to be more events during the year, but when the events got tied to the lore that year, the next year, a lot of those them got removed. Except for the Crimson Harvest and the Winter Nexus. Those are the two events that have kind of survived the latest transition to the new way that events are done. And the problem with this is that the Hunt, in particular, had two aspects of it that made it unique and valuable to New Eden as far as like an event goes. Having it be an event that happens was valuable to the overall like universe and design depth of EVE Online. And those were that during the Yule event, during the Hunt, if you got potted, you had a 50% chance of dropping any given implant. So implants during the Hunt dropped in the same way that modules drop in under normal ship destruction. This was interesting because without this, you cannot remove implants from a clone without destroying it. And so it introduces this really unique edge opportunity that once a year, if you really, really want to, you could take your pod and get potted, and then you'll be able to extract at least half of your implants back out, right? I mean, however it rolls, right? So what's interesting about that is that mechanic, right? The implants dropping out of pods mechanic was actually added to the Crimson Harvest event, but only outside of HiSec to kind of make it so that it was an interesting aspect of the game. It makes it so that, you know, without that change, you can never pull out implants from your clone. And that's just a thing that you know. But now, because this event, there are times of the year in which you can do specific things, i.e. go to a low sec or wherever and pod yourself somehow, and then you can get the implants out. So it's not a you can never do it thing, which is kind of cool. The other thing that made the hunt so good was the actual hunt themselves, which are basically during the hunt, these mysterious capsules would appear all across New Eden, and they would warp between planets, right? And so you would have to hunt them down and then blow them up. Now you could directional scan, or you could combat scan them. You could also just warp randomly between planets and moons and find them. But the most efficient way of finding the capsules was directional scanner, right? To descan them down, to use the descanner at 5 degrees to scan each of the celestials to figure out which celestial group they're in, and then warp to that celestial, and then use the descan to figure out which, you know, moon or whatever it was on in order to go to them. That was how you found the pods. And this was really cool because basically, other than this, there is nothing in EVE Online that teaches or emphasizes directional scan in any way. And directional scan, in my opinion, is a core mechanic that must be learned before you can go into dangerous space. I would just say that a player should not be going into low sec or null sec, particularly low sec, without understanding how directional scan works. Like that should be a prerequisite. But there's nothing in the game that actually even explains this to you or shows you how to do it. So the fact that the hunt at least gave people an opportunity, there was an event that made everyone at least get sat down and taught. It's like, well, how do I find these? Oh, well, you just do descan. What the hell's descan? This is how to descan, right? And that made an entire generation of people be able to do descan that wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise. And this is the return of that. I almost guarantee it. That these are, do you get implants if you self-destruct, or does it require attack from another account? I think it worked even if you self-destructed, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So these things are the newest version of that. We will be, I would bet you dollars to donuts, ISK to, I don't even know what rhymes with ISK, that we will be using directional scanner to hunt down the Yule lads, probably everywhere. Right? Like, it doesn't look like these are only going to be in the White Storms. So you can go throughout New Eden and find these logistical convoys and blow them up for prizes. Cool. Now, those prizes include pieces that are valuable to people that are in the storms, right? I'm sure that they'll have other pieces too, but there's going to be this cryotech that is used in different places. Now, there's at least one cryotech here, but there's probably other cryotechs that are useful in the other places. So let's look at this. In the combat sites, it's kind of unclear how it's being phrased, because it says access to more dangerous parts of the storm with stronger forces to fight. I'm going to assume that... So first of all, one of the things that's interesting to hear is that it sounds to me like Marauders, in HiSec, Marauders will need this cryotech to access combat sites. That's just a flat statement. So, you know, Marauders are king in these kinds of events. And the problem is that a lot of times people that are not able to fly a Marauder feel very much pushed out by Marauders during the event. So now you can do these event sites in a Marauder, but you will require a stash of these cryostorm clarifiers in order to run the sites that everybody else can just run, right? So that's why I was saying, like, if you look at these fits, any of the Marauders in this fit, in these ones, expect that you're going to have to get these doodads from somewhere, either, you know, hunting them down yourself or buying them from the market, get a cluster of them so that way you can activate the sites. And I'm just going to predict right now that there's a reasonably good chance that if you stack them up and then you spam the gate, it might just consume them all, just like they consume all the keys in a lot of other times. So be careful with that, but we'll see. But then also, I think that and then there's no restrictions in low sec or null sec, so you can bring your Marauders into sites in low sec or null sec, but at that point you're in null sec and low sec or null sec, right? But then also, depositing that cryotech will access a more challenging and rewarding experience in all Winter Nexus combat sites. So in addition to being required to allow Marauders into the site, there's also likely like a bonus room, right? Where if you drop it, either it causes new things to spawn, much like the Drifter sites that were at Turner, or like adjacent to Zarzak, I should say, that are currently in the in Pochfin. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but like you can run the site or you can drop the thing into the can and that spawns the officer. So either it'll unlock an extra room or it'll just unlock extra spawns. We'll have to see. Vigilance points, thank you. But so that'll be in addition to the cryotech that's required to get into the site, I assume, by the Marauder. Now, explorers can use the tech to gain access to relays normally scrambled by storm interference is even more interesting to me. I don't know if this is going to be a different site or perhaps an additional thing within the scouting sites, because the way this works is that there's these metaliminal storms that are all over the place, and then only within those storms are these sites. So you go there to do data sites, you do you go there to do the combat sites, you go there to do the mining sites. So there actually is quite a bit of competition over the exploration sites, because they're, you know, any given storm only encompasses maybe 10 or so systems. And there is the heart of the storm in the middle. So it may be related to that. We'll have to see. But this is an interesting one where they're going to want, I think this is probably going to be the most like universally able to be done one, because if you think about it, your explorer will be able to roam around, hunt for Yule lads, and hunt for exploration sites, right? In previous winter storms, I've done it where, in fact, my Stratios that I still have set up is originally for this, where I would use not a winter storm filament, one of the Raindolph or Rudolph filament or reindeer filaments, which are the filaments that bring you to the winter storm sites, and I'd bring my team in, right? We'd have like 2 or 3 people that were all doing the combat sites, and then I was in my Stratios with Newts and Scram, and then I would run the hacking sites, and so we would, you know, I'd be able to scout for them in low sec or whatever, and that worked out. Most sites, at least in high sec, when I would do the MJD stuff, you only really need to have a couple of times. I think the MJD nerf probably impacts Marauders in PvP scenarios a lot more. Yeah. Oh, they're talking about, I was ratting in a Paladin, Bastion time nerfed. I was using a micro jump drive in Paladin, it nerfed, LOL. Yeah. I've talked about that before. I really think that the micro jump drive change wasn't necessary, but at the same time, it's, I guess, fine. It has been fun to see like how CCP tries to balance the Marauder, because like they really buff the Marauder in power in order to make them good, and ever since then they've been committed to like nerfing the Marauder into making it like be okay in the meta, while still not taking away the thing that they added to make it powerful, right? So they've made it more they've gotten rid of its E-War resistances, they've gotten rid of its micro jump drive, they've gotten rid of some of its range, but overall try to keep the, you know, powerful tank, powerful smash aspect of the Marauder. So I probably won't be running Marauder for Yule. I might, but especially if I'm going to have to spend extra calcifiers, we'll have to see. We'll just have to see. Now, Now, there would be a cool abyssal module that could mod the distance, say 20 plus 20 in spool up time. That could be cool, changing the distance. Especially if a maximum rolled one could make it 150. That'd be pretty powerful. They push players to buy more expensive ships, marketing plans, I think. This is the opposite of that, though. They are actually nerfing the capabilities of the most expensive ships in order to make room for less powerful ships, right? Like a rattlesnake or a Praxis, which the Praxis became a very popular Winter Nexus fit for a long time. Like, those don't require the extra doodads. So it's actually a nerf to Marauders, not a buff. The Odysseus is fun. I like the Odysseus. I really wish the Odysseus did jump 150. That'd be awesome. No. Okay. So in addition to Winter Nexus challenges, you can hunt Yule Lads and get more action, reap more rewards. The storms will be visible on the star map and can be accessed with Ice Storm filaments. Every day you'll enter New Eden, you'll bring gifts from the Winter Nexus, including Aurora Universalis skins, Winter Nexus themed Skinner components, Evermarks, and up to 650,000 skill points for Omega and much more. Day 26. So let's see, it starts on the 9th and it goes to the 12th. And there is 31 days in December. So 33, I want to say, if I did my math correctly. There's 33 days total. You have to sign in for 26 of those 33 days in order to get the full, the final prize, which is 400,000 skill points for Omega. Or no, that's total 300. So 325,000 skill points for Omega, or 75,000 skill points for Alphas. And remember, if you activate Omega at any point during the Winter Nexus, you'll be able to access all of the goodies that you've already unlocked. So if you are going to get an Omega that is less than 30 days, make sure to get it towards the end of the thing, so that way you can get the stuff. And remember, there is going to be a last week on the track. So even if you work on your track at the very beginning, you will have to return during the last week in order to do the, we're just going to call it New Year section of the winter event. So there's the Christmas phase, which is the first time period, and then that last week will be the New Year phase, where it's after New Year's for the last week. And then the new ice mining destroyer. So this is the one that Malak has gotten me all messed up on Discord. So we're going to look into this. 07, being sick sucks, but at least I can listen in and pick up a few things through the fever. Oh, Dutch, get better soon, man. I have been tiptoeing around being sick. Like, I have a little thing in my nose right now. But so far, so good. I'm sorry to hear that you're sick. Get better soon, my buddy. Dutch Gunner's always getting sick, man. Stop being infected by drifters. No. Okay. Furthermore, completing challenges will advance you along the seasonal reward track, unlocking Plex, skill points, skins, and a blueprint for the Perseverance, a new ice mining variation of the Pioneer Mining Destroyer. This vessel is not available anywhere else, so start preparing for challenges right now. A mining destroyer, first introduced with the Pioneer that came with the Catalyst expansion, is the perfect step up from the Venture, bridging the gap between frigate and barge. Okay, so here is the question. Here's the question that was asked by Malak, or the point that was brought up by Malak, that at first I was very dismissive of, and then has been messing with me ever since. My immediate assumption, I didn't even think it through, was that the Perseverance is going to be a Tech 2 ship, right? In the same way that the Endurance is, right? The Endurance is a Tech 2 venture. This makes sense. But here's the problem. Tech 2 can be invented. Now, this is where you guys might be able to help me out with this. Can anybody think of any time that they have introduced a Tech 2 ship with the ability to build it without introducing the ability to invent it? right? Because like they have done events where there's like, oh, this is your first opportunity to get this ship, but it's always been a faction ship, or like a Navy ship or a pirate ship, or just a new T1 ship or something like that. And so the fact that they've repeatedly stressed that this is the only way to get it, it's not available anywhere else, strangely implies that it won't, I mean, like it implies that it won't be invented. So I don't know if they're going to make it so that you can invent it later, or is the Perseverance a new faction destroyer that acts a little bit like a Tech 2? We already have the Odysseus, which really breaks the mold of what is an understanding of what can be a Tech 2 ship versus an Empire or versus a Tech 2 ship versus a faction ship, right? Will the Perseverance be a Tech 2 ship? If it's not a Tech 2 ship, then they can do something interesting, which is that in previous years, there has been a Winter Nexus expert system. It's like the Metamorphosis in those ships. Right, but the Metamorphosis doesn't have a Tech 1 ship that it is a faction version of. Right now, every faction ship, those again, do not have, those are they're not a faction version of a Tech 1 ship, right? This is they even say it's a variant of the Venture. So actually, you guys are close. You guys are close. There's one ship that got suggested that broke my brain completely and caused me to now start taking this seriously. And those guesses are close. Can anyone guess the actual ship that stood out? So what ship is a named faction ship? So it's not just the name of the ship, consortium issue, or like some issue, or whatever. It has its own name, but it's based off of a base other Tech 1 ship. So it's like a faction version of a Tech 1 ship, but it has its own name. AT ships don't count. Anyone? Anyone? Come on, somebody can do it. No, because it's, again, so like the Worm is not a variant of the Merlin in the same like sense that I'm looking for here. Those are their own thing. Maybe I'm the one creating my own little rule here, but there was one that I conceded when I said this in Discord. Nope. This is the Noctis. It is a Tech 1 or a ship. If we go to variations, we will see that there is actually a variation of the Noctis. Technically, I think the Worm does count. Like, the pirate faction ships are like this too, but like, this was the one that was like, I couldn't argue it anymore. The Prime is, in fact, a faction or like a variant of a ship that's named as its own thing. No one ever uses it. That's correct. Nobody ever uses it. But it is technically true, and making me throw away my entire opinion about what I was trying to say. So, Prime and the Noctis and the neglected children of Eve ships? Exactly. So, the point here is, we don't actually know. That's the big questions that we have is how many of these new doodads are there? And how easy are they going to get? So that way we can, to do these extra sites. But then also, like, what is the future of this Perseverance ice mining destroyer? Like, is it going to be something that can be bought on an LP store after this? Is it going to be something that they add to... No, yeah, there is no T1 Enforcer. That's my point, is that there has to be, like, the Boo Book. Oh, the Boo Book is actually another good one. That's actually another good one. But the point here is that I I think that in previous years, let's see if I can look this up here. I think that was just a fun discussion to have, I guess. Hold on. If we search for Nexus, can I get what I'm looking for? Expert systems. So in previous years, CCP has released the Winter Nexus expert system. And the reason why is because the event itself requires ice mining, right? Or at least one of the three main things that you can do is ice mining in the ice mining sites. And it even says, like, where is it? Recipes for mined ice, which will reward enhanced salvaging packages. The ice mining in this event is actually often very, very good and very popular, and gets like cool, like you get crates when you can get crates randomly as you're mining, so it's pretty fun. But you know, these sites are highly restricted, and the Venture cannot mine ice. The Prospect, not the Prospect, but the Pioneer can't mine ice. And so in the past, CCP has had to give people the expert system to allow them to fly the Endurance and ice miners, so that way they can do the event. So this could be the reason why the ice mining destroyer is being put into the game. Because if the Perseverance is capable, or is alpha friendly, then in theory, the Perseverance will allow people like alphas to perform the ice mining challenges without the expert system. So they may not give away the expert system this time. But if they do that, it's going to be really weird, right? Because you don't get, they're not giving this in just like the giveaways from logging in, like the expert system would be. They are for completing the track. So in order to do the track, you need to have a Perseverance as an alpha. But in order to get a Perseverance, you have to do the track. So it's a bit of a weird catch-22. Obviously, alphas will probably be able to purchase a Perseverance in theory if somebody wants to. But we're going to have to see. Is there going to be an expert system? Is this a replacement for the expert system? And what is the future for the Perseverance broadly now that there's this ice mining destroyer? Is this actually going to unlock ice mining for alphas? All right, people are pointing out a bunch of like special edition shuttles and stuff. Those are all fair, I guess. But alphas don't need to be able to mine ice. They cannot without an expert system. Well, that's the thing. They need to be able to mine ice in order to do the event. So could this be CCP attempting to give the Perseverance in the same way that the ice mining or the Pioneer has opened up new possibilities for alpha mining to step up above the Venture? So too, this new one will potentially allow alphas to mine ice. Now, they don't necessarily say that, but they kind of hint a little bit at it. And there is this like hole where it's like, well, maybe they are going to just give you an Endurance or like the expert system still. But we'll see. A ship can mine ice, but they cannot have the skill. Yeah, well, I mean, that could be changed, right? All they'd have to do is make it so that you can use a ice mining laser. What would that take? Hold on. Actually, skills provided. Here we go. Ice harvesting. Yeah, you could just allow ice harvesting 1 to be trainable by Omegas. Or that could be the expert system. Who knows? I understand that the ice harvest. I'm saying, like, they may be trying to get around the use of the expert system for the event. And remember, these Perseverances, or what are they called? Yeah, perseverances are going to exist in the game after this is done. So the question is, what is the long-term implications of this ship? And we're just going to have to see. So those are my big questions about the winter event. We're going to have to find out next week. You know, both my assumptions and my questions about it, about how it's all going to play out. It looks like it's going to be a good time. I'm going to have a lot of fun with it and be streaming it a lot. I kind of want to know what you guys think about it. It's usually a very popular event. And then next Monday, I will be giving a whole presentation. We'll be talking about the history of Frontline Industries and ore, and how it, you know, relates to all of this, and how it relates to Sancha, which means, what did I say? Did I say omegas? Alphas? I don't know. Whatever I meant. Yes, I said alpha. Whatever. What does this mean for the future of alphas, clones, and the use of this ship? Maybe this is a Tech 2 ship, and all of this is moot, and alphas can't use it either. I don't know. We don't know. But now my brain got broken by somebody suggesting that it might not be Tech 2. And like I said, if it was Tech 2, you'd expect it to be able to be inventable. So, yeah, we'll have to see. My brain's broken. Now you guys get to be too. And we'll wait till next week. So like I said, on Monday, we'll be talking about the lore behind the winter event. Spoiler alert, Sancha is not related to ore in any way, shape. Like I said, I have this big conspiracy whiteboard that I've actually written a couple of times now. That's not even full. And let me tell you who's not on the conspiracy whiteboard when it comes to ore. Sancha. It's actually kind of strange how much Sancha and ore have remained in like very different orbits, largely. But that said, Sancha Clause is a thing. Winter event, there's always been... It's funny because like back in 2016 or whatever, when they were first creating events, they didn't want it to be like hokey. But then by 2020, they like went full hokey. So like, you know, we had the Greastus Bunny, you know, Crimson Harvest is, you know, Halloween is Blood Raiders, winter event is Sancha Clause, right? So Sancha is associated with the winter event, and that's why it's that way. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and we will be back next week to talk more about the Winter Nexus. All right, that is that with that and that and that. I think that's it for most of everything, except the videos that we were going to watch. So let's go ahead and start. We're going to actually start with today's video, which is the Pulse. Let me set this up correctly. Yep, that should be fine. This is today's Pulse. I haven't watched any of these 3 videos yet. I like to watch these live with you guys and give you my feedback and thoughts. So let's go ahead and get started with the Pulse.
Catalyst expansion, the Winter Nexus, the new Catalyst expansion, the Winter Nexus seasonal event, major changes in nullsec, and more. Coming to...
This is really cool, by the way. Like, I'm sorry, I gotta stop it right here. The fact that he is like on the bridge or one of like of the Odysseus is so cool, right? Because like that's what it is. Is the music in the Pulse going to be fine? I don't know. Let's find out. Consider becoming a supporter of the channel just in case I get demonetized. Usually the scope, or the Pulse, rather, video ends up being fine. We'll find out. Sometimes I get demonetized and then I have to cut it out. If you are watching this after the live video and it just skips all of it, that's why.
The new Catalyst expansion, the Winter Nexus seasonal event, major changes in nullsec, and more. Coming to you from on board the Odysseus, this is the Pulse.
Oh, yep. On board the Odysseus. Yeah, I think this song is fine.
EVE Online's new Catalyst expansion went live on the 18th of November. With it came the introduction of brand new phased fields featuring rare prismaticite ore, which can reprocess into a random amount of a random existing mineral.
I'm sorry. I gotta go back again. He has... Okay, so obviously there's a lot of CGI going on here, but it looks like this thing might physically exist. And, you know, I hadn't thought about this yet, but now I want a prismaticite rock that I can put on my desk. Oh my god.
EVE Online's new Catalyst expansion went live on the 18th of November. With it came the introduction of brand new phased fields featuring rare prismaticite ore, which can reprocess into a random amount of a random existing mineral, or have the output be more controlled with reactions. Capsuleers can use mobile phase anchor deployables, powered by rorquals, orcas, or porpoises, to bring the prismaticite asteroids into phase and increase the efficiency of their mining. Phased fields can be found in lowsec and nullsec, must be scanned down, but after a while their location will be visible to all on the star map. Catalyst also brought a new, improved mining interface, with all mining ships now able to scan an asteroid field to reveal the makeup and relative value of the rocks, and see in-space UI elements to show how much more ore their ship can hold. Capsuleers can also now enjoy faster mining cycles, and all mining lasers have a chance for critical hits that bring bonus yields, but skills and modules can improve the odds. New mining mutaplasmids are also now obtainable from Abyssal Dead Space.
Oh man, I haven't talked about this on stream yet, but boy howdy is ice mining mutaplasmids stupid valuable now. So, okay. One of the things that came out of this change is the way that they do rounding when it comes to mining, right? So the mutaplasmids affect various different things, including the mining amount, right? But ice miners mine 1 unit every cycle, right? So now, if you roll an ice mining laser and it increases its mining amount, the amount it increases it above 1 actually becomes like a bonus critical percent chance. Hold on, let me... Our good buddy who's already in chat, Spoons, hooked me up, actually, with an abyssal ice mining laser. Can I just do this? Yeah! So, like, this one here, we can see, like, okay, so its critical success chance is actually lowered. But what's wild is this mining amount, the mining amount being above 1,000 M3, means that basically this ice mining laser, because, like, by default, it's 1,000, right? That's 1 block. So by changing it to 1,286 M3, this actually has a 28% chance of producing 2 blocks instead of 1. So not only do I have the normal crit chance of 0.76, it's, like I said, it's reduced because it rolled bad. That also will give me 2 blocks 78% of the time, and 3 blocks 22% of the time. 22% of that 0.76% chance. So it's like a very, very small chance of actually getting that as a crit. But in addition to that, because that mining amount went up, I actually have a 28% chance of getting a fake crit and getting 2 blocks anyways. This has caused the mutaplasmid market for ice mining stuff to explode, because it's not just about these crits. Any mining amount increase is just a % chance of getting extra blocks. And with this ice mining event coming, that's going to be a big deal. It may seem small, but for anybody who's ever mined ice before, it's huge.
Furthermore, mining mission sites have been given a visual update, bringing stunning and distinguishing features to the locations, with a rare chance of experiencing extreme environments also included. Omber and Kernite belts have returned to high sec, offering capsuleers who clear them out a rare chance of triggering mining escalations.
Still not found an escalation of our own yet, one of these days.
As well as new scannable combat sites featuring valuable asteroids. The Catalyst expansion also introduces incredible new ships to New Eden for exploration and mining. The Pioneer mining destroyer, with its 3 turret hardpoints and superb mining range, is the perfect middle ground between a mining frigate and barge. It can be flown by alphas, with even more to unlock for omegas too. The Pioneer Consortium issue comes with an extra mid-slot, larger ore hold, enhanced drone bay, and numerous bonuses to delight the solo miner. The Tech 2 Outrider variation is the first industrial command destroyer. This versatile platform is capable of fitting a micro jump field generator, making it ideal for mining in dangerous situations, either alone or with small groups. The Venture Consortium issue mining frigate delivers the same benefits as the Pioneer Consortium issue. Then there's the Odysseus, the first exploration command ship and the first new Sisters of Eve offering for over a decade. Capable of fitting new exploration command bursts, boasting a unique expedition hold, ship maintenance bay and maintenance array, and the ability to fit a zero-mass entangler, the Odysseus can go anywhere in wormhole space and stay deployed for long periods of nomadic travel and exploration. Certain landmark systems, metaliminal storms, wormholes, and sovereignty upgrade system effects will give the Odysseus a bonus too, and it can be transported with conduit jumps. Speaking of ships, the build cost of all carriers has been lowered by around 30%, making them a stronger PvE option while no longer competing with dreadnoughts in terms of cost. Carriers are also now able to carry and deploy more support fighters, each with 4 fighter tubes and able to deploy 2 at a time. The final build time has also been reduced by around 10%. Among further changes to their targeting range and integrated sensor array, the hulls have also gotten a visual overhaul, including additional geometry.
Obviously, all of this stuff is stuff that we've already covered. That said, I do want to point out that we saw the Nidhogg, like, it looked the least changed until you see the underside of it, and boy, does it look good.
Geometry, improved textures, and visual effects. When deploying fighters, you can now see them take off from the ship. A new and accessible brief epic arc called Fractured Legacy has also launched with Catalyst. This new arc will introduce the expansion to pilots of all experience levels, provide them with the new Pioneer mining destroyer, and the chance to discover some of the wonders of New Eden. The much-anticipated 2D star map arrives with the Catalyst expansion, delivering improved system visualization and clear jump ranges, offering precise navigation and sharper tactical insights directly in-game. Both 2D and 3D maps will feature ore availability indicators, enhanced data readability, and customizable scales, including logarithmic options for greater clarity in every view. Among other changes in the expansion, new personal Plex transaction logs let you monitor your Plex flow, bringing transparency by showing where it comes from and how it's spent. The first update to Catalyst went live on the 2nd of December, bringing access control lists for freelance jobs, meaning that project creators can now control access to freelance jobs, leading to more variety, flexibility, power, and profitability. A new freelancing skill, allowing capsuleers to take on more freelance jobs at the same time, is also part of this update. Hot on the heels of the Catalyst expansion comes the return of the Winter Nexus seasonal event, with a few changes from last year. From the 9th of December to the 12th of January, the volatile ice storms will once again roam New Eden, with capsuleers able to use filaments to travel to the center of the storms, where they can
Man, who's going to be using an Odysseus in this event? I really want to. I'm not sure if I'm quite ballsy enough to, especially not the non-high-sec ones, but we'll see.
Hack, fight, and mine their way to seasonal rewards, including a BPC for the brand new ice mining variant of the Pioneer called the Perseverance, only available during the Winter Nexus, as well as skill points, Plex, skins, and more.
The thing is that it looks like the T2 ship, right? Like, it looks like the Outrider. I don't know if that means anything. It probably doesn't, but it does look like it.
In addition to the returning exploration, ice mining, and combat sites of the Winter Nexus, this year, Interbus have dispatched Yule delivery drones.
Drones will be an issue in the event. So for the hacking site, doing the hack. So, like I said before, I do. Hold on. If I pull up my Stratios. Where is it? I think this is it. Yeah. So this is my setup for the Winter Nexus. Except I think I pull... I think I pulled the cap recharger off for the hacking module during the event site. So this allows me to, like, escort the... Or, like, I can scout for the battleships. No problem. No problem, TL. I just wanted to, like, it was just my opportunity to bring it up. So, like, my point was, is that, can I make a well, there already are basically an Odysseus version of this fit, but this is already pretty ballsy, like running around in a 500 million-esque ship to do exploration sites in low sec and null sec. But to do a 2 billion-esque version of it would be pretty fun, huh? Who wants to donate to me a couple of extra Odysseus's so I can do that?
Named after Yule clones. Hunt down and destroy these delivery drones, which can drop cryotech. Then use the tech to access greater challenges and rewards at exploration. Have dispatched Yule delivery drones named after Yule clones. Hunt down and destroy these delivery drones, which can drop cryotech. Then use the tech to access greater challenges and rewards at exploration, combat, and ice mining sites. By depositing the cryotech in structures in and around Winter Nexus sites, you can unlock better salvage reward crates, an extra hacking container, or stronger forces to fight, with better loot.
So there you go. So yeah, so it's not a special site, it's just like when you go to an exploration site, there's going to be like the normal cans to hack, and then there's going to be a special can that can only be hacked if you have a cryo thing. I mean, I used a pacifier for hacking during the events. The whole point, though, was that like, so I had my battleship fleet that I was supporting. So the idea was that I need to be able to hold the field long enough for them to show up. So it was like a heavy tackle. So pacifier wasn't... When I was just doing it by myself, yeah, I used a pacifier. The whole point of the Stratios was to add the combat effectiveness to the fleet while we're in low sec.
As an example, in high sec, marauders will need to deposit the appropriate cryotech at a structure beside the acceleration gate to access the combat site.
Right, okay.
There are also daily rewards for logging in during the event.
There it is! Never mind! We win! We win! Never mind! Throw out like half the shit I said about the fucking Perseverance. There it is. There's the Winter Nexus expert system right there in the picture. So, all right, cool. We will get the Winter Nexus expert system still. So that explains like, at least like how you get to the end of it, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Perseverance after.
Including Aurora Universalis skin.
We also see Pioneer Aurora Universalis skin. That's a cool little thing. Venture Aurora Universalis skin. Cheetah Aurora Universalis skin. And a couple of colors.
Winter Nexus themed Skinner components, Evermarks, up to 650,000 skill points for...
Ah, hold on. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, yeah, no, they're still named after reindeer. That's fine. Nope, doesn't look like there's any other skins that get shown off. So,
150,000 skill points for...
But we have several skins along the track, as well as Plex. Looks like 25 Plex there. Some skill points there and there. And otherwise, Skinner components and an agency drop. Oh, no, this box at the end is probably the Perseverance, right? So 15,000 skill points for the 140 point mark. And it looks like there's a Skinner pattern that I haven't seen before, and 2 colors. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Aurora Universalis skins.
For Omegas, and much more. In the final week of the Winter Nexus, starting on the 5th of January, the
Barbaroga Aurora Universalis skin, okay.
Skinner components, Evermarks, up to 650,000 skill points for Omegas, and much more. In the final week of the Winter Nexus, starting on the 5th of January, the seasonal reward track will...
Water Sucker Destroyed is one of the tasks. So the Water Sucker is one of the Yule lads. I know I keep on pausing it, having to rewind it a little bit. Other than that, all the rest of them look the same. Mining site entered, NPC hit with snowball, exploration site, combat site. Right? Yeah.
In the final week of the Winter Nexus, starting on the 5th of January, the seasonal reward track will extend, and there will be a couple more surprises, so stay tuned. On the subject of seasonal events, an exceptional story emerged from the Crimson Harvest. A relatively new capsuleer of only 6 months completed seasonal challenges and opened the Blood Raider crate reward at the end of the extended track. If you were checking the contracts in-game, you might have spotted one from a relatively new player who sold his Moloch BPC for 700 billion ISK, effectively setting themselves up for life in New Eden. In nullsec,
can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? You join a game, 20 plus year old game. Like, you get in and they're like, oh, there's the new Halloween event. And you're like, okay, cool, I could do that. It's for frigates, you know, and you get into it. And in the end, you end up with 700 billion ISK. It's like, congratulations. You never have to pay for a sub. You never have to pay for, like, all of your ships for the foreseeable future are paid for. Congratulations. You beat EVE Online in 3 weeks. You win. Good job.
Pandemic Horde announced its shock departure from the PanFam coalition and abandonment of their home in the drone lands last month, effectively ending the decade-long coalition. Within hours of the announcement, Pandemic Horde's planned evacuation was suffocated by the Imperium, who launched an aggressive assault on Horde's capital system of Artak AG7W. Since their departure, the drone regions have seen a rush of groups looking to gain sovereignty for themselves. Check out the latest episode of The Scope for the full story on how this led to PanFam's collapse and what could be the largest eradication of citadels in New Eden history. Voting for the 20th incarnation of the CSM is complete and the new council has been elected. CSM 20 received the second highest number of votes ever, and the elected members include 5 newcomers. HighSec, LowSec, NullSec and Wormhole Space are all represented, and the Council are currently being onboarded, ready to hit the ground running in 2026. EVE FanFest 2026 is shaping up to be one of a kind, featuring 2 extraordinary guest speakers. Even though early bird tickets are sold out, the sale for the ever-popular pub crawl and the Friday fleet-up party is live. With that announcement, full-priced FanFest tickets are getting a special 25% holiday discount. Stay tuned for more exciting FanFest announcements throughout the upcoming months. Right now, you can get up to 50% off Mastery Packs in the EVE store, featuring Omega, Plex, Cerebral Acceleration.
We covered all of these packs in detail, as well as the other deals. It's kind of interesting deals overall, but yeah, you can watch the previous videos for in-depth analysis of each of these tiers of packs.
Accelerators, skill points, skill extractors, and more. You have until the 9th of December to act. That's all for this episode of The Pulse. Thank you for joining us. Remember to check the description below for more information on the stories that we've covered.
All right, thanks, Pulse. Let's go ahead and jump to the Nerds show. Nerds number 9, 'twas the Nerds before Nexus. Here we have CCP Jotun and CCP, Convict, which, by the way, I did want to show off a little thing just because I saw that CCP Convict was in this video. Less known item. I was just, like I said, I was poking through all of the different, like, cosmetic items or like special edition commodities, and just to see if there's anything that was fun to check out. Yeah, we went over the asset safety changes. And I found, is it not going to come up now? No? Where'd it go? There it is. The Galactic Party Planning Guide, a compilation of guidelines for hosting your own Capsuleer-focused social gatherings with chapters written by Zapperwork, NGR, RDNX, Dmitry Slavik, Daedra Val, and Bam Stoker. Bam Stoker is CCP Convict. And he was like one of the main people. If you were wanting to do an EVE gathering in or around Australia, he was going to help you put together your thing and then show up to it, which is one of the reasons why he got hired by CCP to run like our player events and community stuff. Note, due to the formatting error, chapters by NGR and Bam Stoker may be displayed upside down because, of course, they're from Australia. Ha ha ha. Very funny cosmetic item. Let's go. This was, of course, before he became a CCP member. Actually, both of these people are former CCP, or sorry, former players, Bam Stoker and his name is God. I don't know, somebody will tell it.
Okay,
Don't be weird, bud.
stop eating the microphone.
I haven't done anything yet. You guys are giving me a hard time. I haven't even started.
I am going to play this one and probably the other one at like a little bit faster speed, just so we can get through things. Let's see if 1.5 will work.
I'm about to do my intro.
Okay, sorry, you did the intro.
Keep calm, carry on.
Dan, I'm sorry for interrupting the intro.
That's okay. No, you didn't interrupt it. I hadn't started, but I was about to start. Just watching. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the New Eden Review Dev Show, or as we like to call it, Nerds. And once again, I have around me an array of wrinkly-brained CCP fellow journey people from the community team. Nerds, as it were, yeah, to talk about a bunch of different subjects.
I actually don't know either of those two people.
Today, I've got CCP Lumii, CCP Zealous, and CCP Jotun.
It's Lumii and Zealous. Okay, well, that makes... Well, Zealous... Okay, yeah, got it. Zealous was also former player. I don't know about Lumii, but Lumii's been around for a while and has done really good things.
And welcome, CCP Convict. Yes, and me, CCP Convict. I am here partially. One hemisphere of my brain is currently thinking about what I'll be doing for the Winter Nexus, but the other one is fully present here and going to be immersed in this conversation today. I promise.
Oh my God, this is an hour.
10% more brain than me.
We'll just try, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Sweet. All right, cool. It's been a strange period this last couple of weeks. I don't know. I don't know how.
I think this might be an understatement.
I don't know how you. Or maybe you'll have a different interpretation of that statement than I do. But for me, the Alliance tournament is in the rearview mirror. CSM is in the rearview mirror. The expansion is still with us, but the release is in the rearview mirror.
Yes. Last day of the DLA today?
Yeah. Oh, good. I mean, I've got to log in. I've been really slack with this one.
I actually managed to get them all this time.
Hey,
proud.
But and now we're on that sort of trajectory towards sort of the Christmas period where things tend to get a little bit quiet around the office as people go off and take their vacations and stuff like that. And I find myself with, dragging out things which 6 months ago I said, oh, I'll get around to looking after that eventually. And now I finally can, which is kind of cool to, make some progress on these little projects. But it I don't know, I feel unburdened somehow,
You say
what do you take?
You say that, and you said that the C7's in the rearview mirror, but really, it is not. We're still onboarding the new guys, so we've been having a lot of individual chats with them, and I think we're...
That's right. Lumii is one of the main people involved with the CSM, if I remember
about to have their first meeting with CSM 19, so we can actually get this show on the road.
Okay,
so it's not over yet.
That's fair to say. You and CCP Swift are obviously a little bit more hip deep in it than I am. I was thinking more in the context of
elections are done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All the elections and the communications around
I was fully ready to go on Cruise Couture mode until Christmas holiday, but nope,
not
not happening.
More to do. I was going through the some of the content that was produced for the CSM the other day, sort of doing a little roundup on stuff that's been happening on our Twitch channel this year.
I guess I'm just going to ask this: is this video worth us watching today? Or should we just jump straight to the Okami one? Somebody let me know. Like I said, I haven't watched it yet. So is there stuff that is it worth us digging into? Or am I going to just stand here and watch them go over stuff and not really have anything meaningful to say because it's all the same stuff? It has little to no info. Does anybody think that I should do this video? Mark Resurrectus, that is correct. Thanks, Threnz. Thanks, AI. It's more frontier one. You know what? We've already been going for 2 hours. Let's go ahead and just jump to the Okami video, and then we'll see if we want to do more after that. How about that? That way we do the Okami video with lots of energy. That's fair. Let's just jump over to that one. More frontier info than EO. Well, that could be fun too, but yeah, because Jotun is frontier. That's one of the things I was more curious about, because like Jotun has been showing up a lot when it comes to EVE Online, because obviously he knows a lot about EVE Online. He is Mark Resurrectus, but he is actually on EVE Frontiers. You're gonna miss CCP Jotun's Christmas plans? Uh-oh. Well, maybe we'll check it out later. Maybe we'll do like a viewing of it on the Discord or something. All right, let's go with Okami Tea Time number 1. So CCP Okami is the newest executive producer, I think is the title, but we'll find out. He was brought in this year and alongside CCP Rotati and CCP Burger in like creating the higher end vision for the game. Game director, thank you. And overall, he has been incredibly popular, right? He has been like spearheaded pretty much a lot of the changes since the Revenant major update, where he has not only made several pretty successful changes, but has kind of made it a point to address and target exactly what players are talking about in a way that CCP has historically been pretty bad at. And so, you know, knock on wood or whatever, CCP Okami has probably like been the most successful publicly facing member of CCP since like CCP Aurora. Either way, let's go ahead and jump into it. What he has to say.
Now, it's a little bit different, this one. I'm CCP Monty. I'm with me, CCP Okami. You guys all know CCP Okami, game design director of EVE Online. And, well, why do you want me to drink more tea?
Well, first of all, I heard you were a little under the weather, and maybe that'll help make you feel better. If you haven't noticed, I like making people feel better, so...
I should have made tea. My coffee cup is empty. I should have made tea. All right, well, we'll have to remember that for next time. But also, it was kind of funny because, like I said, I've been plowing through the lore, and one of the things I was going over is like the story of Tibus Heth and like the end of Tibus Heth's reign, and like one of the big controversial thing that he did that like really broke what support he had was forcing the admiral of the Shigemoru to perform the tea maker ceremony, which is a polite way of, you know, ritual seppuku, as it were.
We'll start with that, but also, like, you know,
So I never trust tea in EVE.
tea represents the tea, the truth, right? I like dropping truth bombs, so I like talking
Does it
real talk.
represent the truth, or does it represent the quest for something? Or you know,
Why not? Why not all of it? And you know, I just like tea, so let's keep it weird. I think I envision a future here with us having a nice tea set in front of us as well.
CCP Doggo. Where is CCP Doggo?
Yeah,
Mizu.
so a lot of people don't know CCP Doggo's name is Mizu. Mizu means water in Japanese, so Okami Mizu. Like, there's a little bit of a connection here. And Mizu's my dog. Yeah, so Mizu came with us to
See, the Caldari, the Caldari favoritism is very strong in CCP.
the cave, and I think maybe got the most 07s I've ever seen anybody
Yep.
ever get. So
Yeah. That was spectacular. Do you think it's the first what do they call Shih Tzu? Oh,
no, she's a Shiba.
Shiba.
Inu.
Yeah. Was it the first Shiba in a lava tunnel in the world?
Actually, maybe probably that. Well, Japan's a volcanic country too.
Icelandic
so-
lava tunnel for sure.
Icelandic, definitely. I think that she's maybe the like third Shiba in Iceland or something like that. So yeah, little rare, little mezurashi for
It's a
Japanese.
celebrity around.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen you walking around and which is always carrying some teddies.
Yes,
Yeah.
she has a little puffin. So we like to go downtown with her in Reykjavik, and she carries around her little puffin stuffy with her. She's very, very well behaved dog. So,
Yeah. Only reason I accepted doing this show with you was because I was expecting CCP Doggo here with me. But you know, I will have
Next
an
time.
intellectual deep conversation over tea with Mizu sometime soon.
well, what do you think? Should I bring in CCP Doggo again sometime?
100%.
Yeah, should we do a CCP Doggo
100%.
stream?
Just-
Okay,
just
yeah,
more, yeah. Life is just better with animals.
absolutely.
It's like all my life, always.
100%.
Yeah.
I know you've had lots of dogs too.
I've had a few. But I thought it was funny because, and we're way off topic.
We're way
on
off
what you-
topic.
But that's what we wanted to do. But we have this Icelandic sheepdog breed.
Yeah.
And like all the dimensions of Miso are kind of the same.
Pretty similar, yeah.
Yeah. She's more of a hotter climate kind of looking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I found it quite interesting. Catalyst expansion.
Yeah.
So what's the news there? From everything I've seen or heard or felt, people are really happy with the
yeah,
design
sorry-
directions,
sorry if the volume is
development
bad.
that came through there, and kind of what was being focused on. So how are you feeling now? We're what, 3 weeks in, 2 weeks in?
Yeah, I feel ecstatic. Honestly, this has been probably from my sort of like the things I care about in EVE in terms of like design and what's landing with players and how everybody is feeling. This is probably one of the most successful expansions I've seen. We're seeing numbers, so like so many people are both coming.
I mean, that's absolutely true. I mean, like I said before, they've actually, like, it's the highest numbers that we've seen in peak concurrent users since the pandemic. And it's actually pretty impressive considering, like, if you told somebody 10 years ago that CCP was going to have an entire expansion based around mining and that was going to be incredibly popular, people would just not believe you. This represents such a dramatic change in both, like, the way that the players perceive EVE Online and their expectations of it, as well as the way that CCP manages things like expansions.
Coming back to Eve to check out what we've done.
Also, I'm going to add
and that
my
makes me
doggo
feel
to
so
the
proud
stream.
of everything and everything that the team has done. So I'm super happy.
Cool.
I'm loving it. And now I'm just trying to sort of muse on what's working so well about this and how we kind of keep a good pattern of establishing these kinds of things in the future as well.
What kind of learnings would you say you've taken so far from exactly this? You know, like you're saying, you're trying to see what people are enjoying about it, what they take away. Are you already seeing things in there that you can share with us that you want to apply to other fields of Eve, or maybe go further with some of the stuff that came in Catalyst?
Yeah, I think parts of it are one is
make sure to like the stream for the doggo. She's not in my lap today, but she's right there.
Is a boldness to try new things. So, for example, the phased field sites are pretty new and pretty novel, and I think they challenged some maybe conventions of Eve in the past. Everything from how the site itself works to some of the lore and the way it appears in game to how they're being distributed in the universe a little bit more dynamically. So this is a new pattern and a new convention. And I think that's exciting. It's a new puzzle to solve. So I think adding new things for players to try to figure out. They don't maybe fully understand exactly how everything works, but we've got very smart players who like to solve puzzles. So yeah, challenging those sort of conventions that have been there for 20 years and trying to push things forward. And then on the other hand, I think we have stuff like all of the mining work we did with the mining UX and UI, and the new ships and everything. I think with that, we just really looked at like a foundational piece of EVE Online. We just said like, there is this thing that exists that has been here since the beginning and maybe isn't the most fun or the best. And how can we push that thing? How can we take that and you know, we could do a big leap forward, and there's some risks in that, or how do we, like, what's a good amount that we can push this thing forward that will make people feel happy and want to try this again, or come back to it if they've left, or
it's unironically kind of like, it surprises me how many people legitimately came back and tried EVE Online again because of mining crits. Like the number of people that have expressed to me that, like, that idea of like, and I don't think it's actually like the crit itself or whatever, but it's this idea of like, oh, there's more to it now, like, was enough to get a lot of people's attention. There's been this desire for people to have this kind of like love given to these mechanics, but because mining was so publicly maligned by the player base for so long, like, they never really had a voice. And so a lot of those people quit the game. And so I think that like this kind of update actually did bring a lot of people back to the game, in the same way that, like, when I first started streaming, I would do invasions and people would see invasions and then they'd be like, oh my God, this is nothing like any EVE I've ever seen before, right? Most people that quit EVE actually don't quit EVE because it was too hard. A lot of people quit EVE because it was boring or didn't give them what they want, or their gameplay they felt wasn't fleshed out enough, right? And so those people sit in the wings quietly waiting for some sort of love to be given to their gameplay. And so this is the thing about, like, not necessarily always listening to the loud player base about what they want, because, you know, the killers, the people that are doing the big alliance warfare and all that stuff, of course they're going to think that that's the most important stuff, but they're the ones that are already playing the game. It's that huge population of the game that came in, played the game, and it wasn't that it was too hard. It was just like, why even play it? Like, what's the point? Like, people that quit out of apathy is significantly, A, I think more common, and then also B, a bigger problem for CCP than people who quit because it's too hard. If you quit because it's too hard, then it constantly like picks at your brain that like other people are playing it. Every time you read something new about EVE Online or cool things that people are doing in EVE Online, you know that the only reason why you're not playing the game is because you got mad that you got destroyed in low sec with your, you know, venture on day 3 or whatever. And so you're like, you know what, I'm gonna try it out again. And now you have a better idea of the kind of dangers and stuff, and then you might be a successful player. But if somebody quits because EVE was disappointing to them, why would they try it again? Unless the feature set specifically makes them feel like the thing that they were disappointed about is now like it's worth like checking out, that their disappointment might be undone now. So people who were into industry, people, there's a lot of spreadsheets in space. There's a lot of people that get into Eve because they like the idea of mining and manufacturing and that kind of gameplay. And then when they get into it, it's incredibly boring and you get picked on by everybody. You're kind of the punching bag. And so, yeah, a lot of people are going to quit based on that. But wait, they're doing an entire expansion, making, not just introducing big boy toys for mining like the Rockwall Lifeblood expansion, but actually like making it so that the mining experience is somewhat interesting, and even better yet, give more complexity to the early mining experience with like a new venture, or like the alpha friendly mining destroyer, etc. Like this unironically brought people to the game in a way that other expansions didn't. Yes, yeah, you caught. I do mention the Bartles taxonomy quite a bit.
Yeah, a combination of all of these things, and I think that really is a part of what is working with Catalyst. I think we're just looking at foundational pieces.
Turns out people like mining,
elevating them.
It's funny because I was looking through the previous winter events and stuff like that, and there's like almost no information anymore about the Operation Permafrost event, which is very frustrating. So I was going through like literally everything about it, and spoiler alert, everyone hated it. It was like, I mean, people bitch about everything, but like the Permafrost event had everybody like just complaining about it. And even like the Ancient Gaming Noob had his post about it, and like he even was like, I don't think I've ever gas mined before. Like people back in like 2016 era, 2017, mining was beneath them for the most part. Certainly before 2015, but before Lifeblood, mining was like, people that were considered like miners were considered almost subhuman by the populace, and like the act of mining was considered to be beneath people who did, you know, actually play Eve, like fighting and did PvP. But that has changed a lot. A lot of these changes that have happened since scarcity, etc., has really opened up mining as like a thing that everybody feels like they should do. Some, not everybody, but like I've seen even faction warfare players getting into mining, which is bonkers to a world where like but you know, Hulkageddon exists. Very different perspective on things like mining. And so just the idea that's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's a mining expansion out and it's popular and it's good and it makes mining cool, like that will resonate with a lot of people that got into mining, thought mining was cool, and then realized that everybody hated it. If only there was some kind of warning about how bad scarcity would be. What? Well, I mean, everybody knew that scarcity was going to be painful. We talked about it all the time. I would talk, you know, even back then I would talk about bleeding the fat pig. Just bringing the Kernite and Umbra anomalies to high sec got me back in industry. Exactly. Yeah. See, like it's crazy how these little things were just enough. Okay, but when was the last Hulkageddon? Well, yeah, well, it was a while ago. It was like 2013 probably would be my guess. But my point is like how much our culture has changed when it comes to these things.
The phased fields obviously were...
Also, Hulkageddon didn't stop because people liked mining. Suddenly, Hulkageddon stopped because CCP changed rules on how insurance worked with ganking. I'm pretty sure that was like when they took away insurance for ganking ships. Shoot, I can't remember who it was that was running Hulkageddon, but they got mad at that, and so I'm pretty sure that's what ultimately got people to, or them to stop running Hulkageddon. But I don't know, I could be wrong about that.
Were like a major centerpiece of what was happening. The idea there, obviously,
the phased field is working with Catalyst. I think we're just looking at foundational pieces and we're elevating them.
The phased fields obviously were like a major centerpiece of what was happening. The idea there obviously was in line with the kind of philosophy of this cold rush, moving resources, and therefore people and players, just getting them heading to certain places. I've seen it now in quite a few kind of instances, both just following streams and playing myself and such. And my first observation was basically just, oh my God, they look really, really good.
Yeah.
Real quick, as we're watching this, I do want to take a step back and double check my assumptions. You always want to validate your assumptions, guys. So let's just go ahead and look. to see how many phased fields exist right now, because maybe it's increased. Who knows? Where is it? Is it mining? It's mining, right? Phased fields. We have... It has increased. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no, it's 5. Man, I bet you it is 5. I bet you that there's 5 hidden and 5 exposed at any given time, 1 for each of the drifter wormholes.
They're really pretty. How you could see the bullets warping through if they had to go through if it was fighting and such was just really cool. But has it been like has it played out in the way that you expected?
You know, nothing.
Mining feels like with the mods and mutaplasmids, it can be career now. IMO could be still pushed forward. What if there was a rig to make mining lasers deal damage or more mid-slot mods? Yeah, so this change actually has addressed the thing that I've always talked about when it comes to mining, which is the idea that like surveying, you know, the act of like picking out the right ore, finding the juicy bits. And I think that crits and the new surveying system, especially since the surveying system increases the crits, sort of grabs that bit. I still stand by the idea that I want a special module that can be fit to mining frigates that allows you to capture waste that has happened, that occurs on grid with you. So that way, in the same way that, like, you know, if a newer pilot can't fly a battleship into missions with me, you know, they can't do level 4 missions with me, but they can follow behind me and salvage in a destroyer. And so I'm leaving all that salvage behind because that salvage isn't worth anything, or it isn't worth the time for me to collect all of that loot and salvage. So it's just lost to me. But this other guy can come behind me and clean that all up, and it's worth a lot to him. And so in the same way, it'd be kind of interesting for there to be a type of ship or a setup that a lower tier player can use, like a venture, that rather than mining itself, actually just captures the waste that other ships are doing. I think that to me still is like the piece that I really wish that they would have brought into this, but didn't.
Ever plays out as we expected. I think there's
a lot of serious miners have 0 residue though. Yeah, but that's the thing. So a lot of serious miners have 0 residue because they've made those decisions, right? Because right now it's an all or nothing thing, right? If I want to have all of the ore, I have to use something that doesn't have residue. So I'm either going to use lower powered stuff, or I'm going to use ore strip miners in order to have low residue. But if I have my buddy that functions like a lamprey or whatever, like the like, I always think of like the fish that hang out with the sharks, right? If I have my own like buddy who's there to collect the residue for me, hell yeah, I can use B crystals, and we both benefit from this. Right? That people choose to do 0 residue because that other option doesn't exist. A remora, thank you.
There's some interesting things to jam on and take away from
minigame mod that click to play a minigame to increase mining crit chance could be cool for single boxers. Yeah, and I've always thought of it like that prospecting thing, right? Like where theoretically speaking, it's about analyzing the rock to figure out what pieces of the rock is actually valuable versus not. I could see that type of ship get used a lot. Right now, hardly anyone I know even uses crystals. We use B crystals, or we use crystals on most of our stuff. What's fun is actually, like, so if you're mining the Amber and Kernite sites, right, in HiSec, on the one hand, obviously you want as much of the Amber and Kernite that you can get, but on the other hand, you want to finish the site so that way you can you can wrap it up and potentially get an escalation. So we actually started bringing extra sets of B crystals to make sure everybody has them if they want, because we want waste when mining that. We want to mine them quickly, and we don't mind if there's waste, because we can always just go to the next anomaly. We can always go to the next signature, but we're trying to finish the sites so that way we can escalate. So it's actually behooves us to use crystals.
This first thing is, of course, one of the things
especially
we care about on our side for players, for content, is the concept of destruction, like putting reasons for people to fight out there. Of course, you can always go choose to fight each other for any reason, really, in Eve. But having something that is worth fighting over generally makes it better. So one of our, hypotheses behind the phase fields is what if we put like basically the highest value thing that can exist in Eve currently, like as a single source of single faucet into the economy out there, and we surprised you with this on your doorstep, would people fight over this thing? So that's the question we asked.
Yeah, and then we don't keep it secret for you forever.
And we don't keep it secret forever. So we give you a little bit of time, and then gradually it becomes revealed. And like, of course, we have our hypotheses behind these and how it might work out. And over time, maybe that will change. Often these things do change in Eve. But the thing I think that surprises me the most about this, and again, our Eve community, is that we've seen a lot more collaboration and cooperation in these sites than we expected, and a lot less destruction. So I think people are finding these sites. They have the feeling like there's no way.
See a lot of people using crystals in mining fleets. Orca 4, but this Remora style ship was aimed at alphas that would bind them more to the community of the fleet. Exactly. That's the thing. Like, the nice thing about that idea would be it makes it so that, like, oh, you're a low powered person. You're a newer player that can only fly as an alpha. Well, hell yeah, come with me, because that means that I can justify using the good crystals. I'm excited that I have somebody with me to help me out, to do that extra job for me, to clean up my waste, as it were. I've always thought that that's a good idea.
For me and my little crew, or whoever's here, to do this whole thing myself. So yeah, sure, let's share the space. Let's help each other mine this thing out, and fight off anybody who's coming to try to steal from us together. So that's a pretty surprising outcome, but it's cool. And it's also very Eve, because who knew?
Who knew? Yeah.
And that actually is one of the things. Like, Eve is about conflict, but what the actual story of Eve is like how much we actually do work together, how much cooperation in this world that like favors conflict, how much actual cooperation does happen, how much trust, how many kind people really do exist. And that's what I've always said about like Eve, which is that like I play Eve not to be the villain, but to be the hero in a game in which that choice matters. In a lot of other MMOs, you are the hero because you are the hero, right? Because you do the things that, like, you fight the big challenges for the money, but you are the hero, right? You're the paladin or whatever. In Eve, like, the temptation to be a slime ball is there, which means it means something when someone is kind. And I like that.
Yeah, it's also just fun to see like how much discussion it brought out from the industry kind of resource gathering side of things. The kind of depth of interest. One of the things that I worried about with something like this when these were introduced was that there was this feeling of people that enjoy that part of the game. They want to kind of just continue it the same way. They want to have their operation a certain. They're often running a factory rather than necessarily going out scavenging for things. But the feedback seemed to point to like, no, there's definitely appetite to this as well. I mean, we still see and especially from a point of view of keeping the machines of the.
I know that the amount of fleets that we've been doing has exploded. We used to basically have one, maybe two a week, and now we've been doing a lot, most days actually. There's been something going on. Like there's so many, like hunting for the mining sites, doing stuff in the wormholes. Like there's so many different things going on that allow like individuals to figure out something cool and then bring in a group to people to do some group content together. It's really working out.
The major corporation alliance.
In Eve, I'm just some guy, not the champion of the Kaldari, savior of the Amar, freedom fighter of the Galente, emancipator of the Mamatar, eradicator of the Drifters, champion of Azur. Wait, wrong game. Well, I mean, some of us are the eradicator of the Drifters, but like that's my point. Is that if you are going to be a hero, you actually have to do those things. It's like I said, like you can be a military, you can be whatever you want in Eve. It's the only true role playing game out there, in my opinion, where you actually can. You play a role in a fictional universe, but you actually have to do that role. You can be a space politician, but you better be able to get votes. You can be a space admiral, but you better be able to inspire people to follow you and whatever. You can be a space mogul, but you got to be good at trading. You don't get to be a space mogul because you picked that class and therefore have the skills and it's all abstracted. Like you have to actually do your role in the universe.
Alliances and such. there's still the need just for the raw fuel and all of those things, which are very much on a factory kind of level basis. While something like that became more of a scavenger hunt. And that maybe ties into the Odysseus a little bit. Just first off, any feedback to the new ship, how it's been playing out?
Well, I saw that it's one of the highest traded items right now. So it is super popular, and I think I just saw. I'm gonna bring up my stats here to make sure I'm getting them right. There's been 2,000 of them built. So
a few of them destroyed as well.
A few of them destroyed as well. Yeah. So we're seeing lots built. We're seeing lots.
One destroyed by drifters, at least. You can be an opportunities director, but you got to go compress that 80 million of Feldspar. I'm sorry, Thrands.
It's traded by value. It is a super popular ship. It's controversial, and I don't think that's a bad thing for EVE Online either. I think it's important that there are things to debate over, right? Like, is this good? Is this bad? Is it, some people think it's the greatest thing ever and some people hate it.
Yeah.
And I kind of love that, like, to be honest. Like, if everything was for everyone all of the time, it'd be a boring game.
Yeah, I'm trying to look through here how many have actually been destroyed.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it.
You have any counts for us? But yeah, it's a beautiful ship.
It's not that many. There's like 21 on Seakill now.
Okay.
So I don't have like our data. It's just something I'm checking like quickly.
Yeah.
I
don't think mine's on Zkill.
Of the Odysseus now.
Because it was an NPC.
Do you have one yet?
No, I don't. I can't fly it. It's sitting pretty at 2.8 bill still though.
Yeah.
We'd expect the price to go down a little bit, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I mean, usually we see in like expansions that like the Babaroga is a good example of this.
Just a friendly reminder, SOELP is fantastic right now. And so if you are a mission runner, by God, running missions for the SOE, already pretty good, always pretty good. Right now, the best it has ever been.
See the price just absolutely spiked at the beginning of the expansion, and it tapers off over time, generally speaking. But, this is meant to be a high-end ship. It's pretty high-end. It's still supposed to be accessible to people who are really hyper into exploration. We'll watch its price over time and see if we need to make any adjustments. But I'm pretty happy with it. And like genuinely, like I said, it's a really cool looking ship. Like, there's nothing else like it.
From a design standpoint, it also sells a bit of a fantasy of exploration and just heading out somewhere and just being out in the wild.
Yeah.
Is that something that we could see worked on more moving forward? Like more of a I need to explore this and I don't know what's on the other side kind of.
I love that point.
Yeah, I think how do I frame this? So again, the concept I'll always come back to, you're gonna get so sick of this, my friend, is dynamism. Like really making EVE feel like a dynamic living universe, one where you don't always know what to expect. And I think that wormholes are a good example of dynamism in EVE, but we can push that even further. And so I think with uncertainty comes the desire to explore and discover and to find more certainty. So absolutely, as we add more systems to the game, as we figure out how to inject a little more uncertainty and surprise to your day-to-day life, then absolutely more ships and more ways of trying to navigate that space is absolutely something that we could look at.
What about the other ships, the Outrider, the Pioneer, those things? Are they kind of working out as intended?
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the performance, especially of the Pioneer. I think that we have gotten a lot of feedback in the past that we do tons of high-end ships, right? Like the Sarathiel is a good example, Babaroga in the past expansion, which is always really cool, of course. Like you want to have those big sort of like super cool. Like,
but they're endgame goals.
But they're endgame goals, and not everybody can afford them. So it really is nice, and I think that's something that I'd think about deeply for future expansions as well, is how do we create more accessible new ships? Like this is Spaceships, the video game. We're going to keep looking at making new ships. So as we do that, how do we make new ships not only for, high-end players, but also for everybody, something that they can just start to use in their day-to-day operation. So it's working out super well, seeing a lot of use and just a lot of positivity around them. And in fact, and drop a little hint, we have an event coming up soon, Winter Nexus.
Yep, very soon.
Very soon, yeah.
And thought that it came around at the same time as last year.
It is quite chilly here though now. It's starting to feel like it, right? And the darkness, darkness is setting in.
Yeah, even bright compared to Iceland.
It really is. So, but yeah, back to the ships. Little hints and spoilers. I think keep an eye out for Winter Nexus because you might see something cool related to the Pioneer there.
Okay.
Something cool. Wink.
Something cool. Yeah. Are you gonna do the? Are you gonna do the? Is it the signature Okami wink?
It's a wink. So if you're watching, pay attention. Yeah.
Have we already started work on the Catalyst major update? I mean, it's still quite a far away, and I kind of assume so. As I also know that obviously the team is already working on the expansion after the one they just released. When the one that gets released,
Yes.
goes out. So anything you wanna, any tea?
Any tea? Yeah.
You told me you wanted this to be the tea time, so I'm expecting some proper tea here.
That's right. Well, let me think about that. Yeah, I think first of all, the thing for players is I'm always thinking in the next thing ahead, right? Like that's my role really is not just what's happening right now, but next one, the one after. I need to be thinking about that. So yes, always already thinking about the next major update. The first thing there is we're going to have a new round of CSM in for this one. So I do want to make sure that we have a little bit of space to hear what they're bringing in, and we can sort of process some of that stuff. Eager, interested, excited to meet new people and see how they are. But yeah, there's a couple things. I'm going to just bring up my notes here to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. First one is wormholes.
Wait, what?
Wormholes.
If I read comments, then wormholes don't exist.
They don't exist. Yeah, that's right.
Man, okay, so again, monkey paw, right? Like, people have been complaining about or wanting CCP to work on wormholes, but like, we're gonna have to see what that even means. I think that the Odysseus was a great addition for wormholers. It was a gift for wormholers too. But obviously, you know, he was teasing before that there was going to be wormhole stuff, and this obviously means that there's going to be potentially more wormhole stuff. But boy, the problem is that wormholes are all about being kind of the frontier challenge, and CCP creates the challenge. So oftentimes when CCP says, you know, new things for wormholes, it actually makes things potentially more complicated, more harder, or, you know, whatever. So be careful about that monkey paw. We'll have to see.
I've heard that they've been begging for our attention and that they want to be rejuvenated. So don't worry. Don't panic. But we do want to do something for wormholes. I don't really have, there's no like concrete, we're going to do this or that, but I've asked the team that's going to be working on the major update to make sure that we're tending to wormholes and doing something interesting there. So that could be some new content, bringing back some old interesting content that we've had before in the space or in other spaces. And even things like, could we bring some phased fields into wormholes to some extent? So like one of the problems with phased fields, not problems, is just we design them to be very specific for a specific space. As they stand, we don't think they work very well one-to-one in wormholes, but a version of them with erratic ore could be something pretty cool content for wormhole explorers to find. So those are some of the things we're thinking about there.
Yeah, could we potentially see, like now the phase fields are more of a one-size-fits-all, could we potentially see some similar things, you know, maybe more for pioneers and ventures and such in the future as well, like maybe some high-sec non-fleet requirement kind of stuff for? Yeah,
I think so. I think really like it's a mega high-value thing. But there isn't a reason we shouldn't play with it and experiment with it in the context of the EVE universe. So having smaller, lighter weight versions of these things could be really interesting and cool. Could they be in HiSec? Great question. I think these are things we could definitely try out and explore in the future. But for now, because this is such a big change and such changed industry and economy, we definitely don't want to just like wait and see how this thing settles before we start like throwing it all over the place and seeing what else it does. But yeah. There's nothing really that's off the table.
Another thing that we saw now in Catalyst, the new Epic Arc. We're gonna see more. What's the word on this?
Yeah, for sure.
Tie-dye in an Epic Arc for the first time.
Right. Like that says something to me. It says that this is content that people are interested in, for one, for a number of reasons, right? Like we gave away a ship as a part of it. The goal with our Epic Arcs really was can we do one? It's been so long since we've done one. I think it was like 16 years or something like that. So we needed to just figure out how to do one again. There was a lot of old tech and a lot of old things we kind of had to dig up and figure out again and dust off. As game development goes, you kind of like, if you're not making something all the time, it rusts up a little. So we had to figure out how to do that. So this was a nice sort of intro for us. Really, our goals were to just welcome people back into the expansion. I think, for one, this is a really great place if you are a new or returning player, just to be like, what's going on in EVE right now? Phase fields, what are those, right? And I think that the majority of new players, especially, or returning players, are just not going to get the opportunity to see one of those because they're so out there. They're really rare. They're meant to be that way.
Here's my question. Would people want an Epic Arc that only lasts for like an expansion? What if CCP, because this Epic Arc is kind of short, you know, whatever. What if this Epic Arc with the phase fields only lasted for this expansion, then would go away forever? or whatever. I think that would also kind of fix the problem of the fact that epic arcs are like this story in time in a universe that is very dynamic, right? Oh, good puppy. Like the stream for Zoria, the puppy girl. You don't want FOMO? Well, I mean, but like, it seems it's not necessarily FOMO because you'll still be able to get the Pioneer later. My point is that like, does it really make sense for them to always be like, what's this mysterious in 10 years, will that epic arc even still make sense in like the context of what's going on in the universe? You know what I mean? Good girl.
Right now. But it would be such a shame if you didn't get the opportunity to experience that, right? Like you said, they're super cool.
Yeah.
So part of the goal is just being like, how do we help people just see this stuff, right? Like to see the cool stuff we're making. If they're new ships, let's let you see them. Let's let you.
Because there's events and stuff which last for like a month, but it might be interesting for epic arcs to only exist for a period of time. They could even bring them back again if they wanted to, but I do agree with the FOMO thing that like it'd be important to not try to like put a thing on there that would cause people to want to do it now versus later. I agree with that, but I think that especially if you're going to do something like an epic arc, it would make sense for it to be something that might change over time. This is more of an issue of arcs being related to a modern thing rather than evergreen arcs. I agree, but even all of the epic arcs, the whole point of an epic arc is that it tells a story, right? Even though like the Galente epic arc with the Black Eagles is less relevant now than they were before. I do think that we should get more epic arcs. I think that it's a good way of doing storytelling. I'm just wondering whether or not, like, as they do bring back epic arcs, it might be cool for them to be something that like exists for like a year or maybe not even for like a set period of time, but like be something that they're prepared to retire when they're no longer like chronologically relevant. Then they can be a thing that happened rather than a thing that you can go do that seems strangely out of time. Are they doing a bit of FOMO with the Perseverance? We don't know yet. We don't know yet. We don't know. Again, this all has to do with how accessible it'll be after the fact, right? I mean, arguably all event skins are FOMO, but the good news is that most people don't give a crap about the event skins per se, so they don't really worry about it too much. So there's plenty of FOMO in the game already. I don't know if that's necessarily, yeah. Yeah, the Mimitar arc is all about finding the lost tribe of Matar, but they've been found for 16 years. Great point, Malak. Exactly. Like, it feels really awkward. And if somebody was to go and do the epic arcs as they are right now, as their way of, like, learning about the game, they're actually going to learn the wrong things about the game. Yeah, leave it for 1 year, give 3 months notice before they cycle out. Exactly. I'm not saying that they have to do it for every single one. I'm saying, like, that I think that it makes sense for them to retire content that kind of points to stuff that's old. Speaking of which, it would also be awesome if somebody made sure that everything was up to date on the universe portal. The Amar lore entry still says that Kat is Teshmer, or no, sorry, still says that Jamil is the Empress. So, you know, one of these years. They mentioned it in Pulse. What did they mention in Pulse? They say that it's only going to be available through this method during the event, but they haven't said whether or not it'll be a new way to, like, the problem is that this has happened in a lot of events before where they'll introduce a new ship or a new thing and there'll be an event which will be the only way to get that thing at first, right? Like the faction exploration ships were originally, you could get them only by doing the like the Shadow War-ish stuff, whatever. So I think that, and we have had limited BPC drops in events like as random prizes, such as Consortium Tractor Beams, that's true. But I think, so I don't think that they're going to say like, it won't be available after this event, but they're saying that during the event, the only way to get it is going to be by beating it, or by finishing the track. Let me double check that. Because it says currently only available through the Winter Nexus seasonal reward track. So yeah, they straight up suggests that it should be available in other ways after the event. Like the Deathless Combat Probes, don't even know how to get them anymore. Can't you still turn in Ativum to Deathless and get Deathless crates? The praxis is every Capsuleer Day login event. Yeah. But yeah, saying that something is the only way to get it doesn't mean that it's going to exclusively be that only way to do it forever. They removed the NPC, you think? Well, either way, I saw those combat probes the other day. Spooked me pretty good.
You see one. Maybe somebody there's only 2,000 Odysseus out there.
Mm-hmm.
Odyssei?
Odysseus.
Yeah, Odysseus's. So like,
think so? I thought for sure it was going to be a T2, and now I'm not sure. So I don't know anything about anything, but we'll find out next week.
Let people see one, right? Like, so that's part of the goal with this, and we did that. I think we accomplished that. I'm also like a big fan of like storytelling in games, and I think that Eve has a really interesting narrative to it, but most of that is in its world building. We don't do a lot of sort of like linear-esque storytelling. You have to kind of glean what's happening from the universe in a lot of different ways. So this is us kind of experimenting with how can we do more storytelling in Eve Online as well. That is meaningful and relevant. So I feel really good about it. I'm not sure we took it internally. I think we feel like we wish we could have taken it a lot further in some cases. And I think that people sometimes are like, well, it felt kind of small for an epic arc or other things like that. And yeah, you're probably right. But
I actually like the fact that it was short because I like changing our expectation of what an epic arc can be. I mean, 3 is very short, but like, I don't know necessarily if that should be like a constraint for them if they want to do something like that, especially if they want to like change like how you access an epic arc, right? Like maybe there's an epic arc that you have to do something in game in order to even unlock the ability to do the epic arc. That'd be pretty cool. So the big thing to me though is like they put that choice at the end of the epic arc, but they don't have any meaningful reason why one choice is different than the other, right? Like, even if they put out some information talking about like how many people has done it, how many people have not done it. We just had a New Eden news. There's no mention of the events happening in the New Eden news, whatever. They don't confirm or deny whether or not we canonically broadcasted the stuff or not. So there's definitely some missed opportunities when it comes to the epic arc, but I think that a lot of them have to do with follow through. That's the biggest problem that CCP does when they do lore type stuff, is often they don't necessarily work on the follow through. So like where do we go with people either sending out the message or not sending out the message? They don't even say what you're really choosing. I mean, they say whether or not you're sending out the information or you're hiding it. But what's funny is that like, even if you send out the information, you don't get to know the information that you sent, which is, did we leak the station destruction logs, the accounting data, her unreleased fanfic? Yeah. Her OnlyFans profile password. I don't even know. I don't remember exactly the details of it. They mentioned that they weren't even sure that they could do another epic arc due to the spaghetti code. Yeah, and that was true. Like, it's not even spaghetti code. It's more like archaic authoring tools, right? However the authoring system for epic arcs work, chances are there's nobody at CCP right now that remembers how, or that used it before, right? So I don't know if I necessarily call it a spaghetti code issue, and more like the authoring tools are antiquated and potentially broken because, depending on how they've changed things over time about how things get authored, it could be the authoring tools that allowed them to make epic arcs no longer work because it needs some updating in order to work with the new way that rats get designated or something based on some change over the last 20 years. Like, these are things that can happen. It has been 1 year since the Yantey announced suspensions of elections in 15 days. Yes, that is true.
I think just having the space to kind of try this and establish it has been great. And then seeing just the overwhelming response to it of people speak with their actions. So tie-dye in systems where there are epic arcs is kind of crazy. Like that's incredible.
That is crazy.
So absolutely, we want to do more in the future.
Hide that during mining is though the last thing that I want.
No, 100%, 100%. But it does say something, and yeah, we'd love to keep it up. And in fact, like people are, I think it's Kisogo is the system where people are actually doing like mining recruiting out of it. So as newer players are going through Epic Arcs, they'll reach out and be like, hey, you like some mining? How about coming and doing some real mining with us? And so there's been a nice relationship of like folks hanging out there and trying to catch other newer players coming in and who might have an interest in mining as well.
Well, we don't have the data when we record this, but potentially there's going to be something interesting coming out of the ACL update now with the access control list for the
I'm going to be very
Alliance
interested to
Core
see how that
projects,
works out.
and freelance jobs. So potentially there's something there that might influence this kind of stuff like recruitment into corps through these major systems and such.
Yeah, I think if you're interested in recruiting as well, the freelance jobs are definitely something to look at, even pre-ACLs. So you could set up jobs to look at players by age as well. So you could look at younger accounts, set up mining jobs maybe in some of those systems around Kisogo or something, and then take a look at who's completing them, and maybe you'll meet somebody who's good for your corp.
Yeah. On the topic of you were talking about the lore as well. Like you're saying, it's so deep and it's so rich. There's so much there, but it's almost hard to interact with quite often. And this is also something that we've been looking into, like from my point of view, where it's just from the communications and the content that we create outside of the game and such. Like how it would be best to actually deliver this stuff to players.
Yep.
And one of the things I'd kind of like to look into with that, for example, the faction warfare. I mean, and just belonging to a faction of some sort, because you quite quickly, if we look at the classic path of a social gamer in EVE, they will quite quickly disassociate themselves with maybe the faction that they chose. And now I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about like at least how I see the sort of vast mass of it, and then they move into they start identifying with their social circle, being a corporation or alliance. So is there something there that where the factions maybe grow in significance in the next years?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think the factions are significant. They always have been significant. Like when a new player joins EVE, you're asked to make a choice of which faction you belong to, or which is your origin rather. And that feels significant when you make that choice. But I think later on you kind of discover it isn't really. It becomes significant again if you choose to enlist in factional warfare. But outside of that, it's really not something that plays heavily into EVE. So looking at the stories we've been telling and where we are in EVE, I'm really eager in the future for us to kind of come back to the original empires, the original four empires. Like we've been telling a lot of stories with the Deathless, Drifters, SOE, or all these other,
and the events are always around non-empire factions.
Yeah, we've got like Blood Raiders events,
Sancha is pretty big with the Nexus.
But not a lot happening with the Empire. So yeah, we are thinking about how do we kind of bring the Empires back and put them in the forefront of EVE once more. I don't really have clear details on all of that yet. It's more of just speaking from a place of desire and where I'd like to go with design and with the sort of lore and narrative of EVE. But I could anticipate players seeing more of that in the future.
Last thing I kind of want to touch on about Catalyst at least is the kind of fun thing that we haven't mentioned. Well, we didn't really mention the rework on how the mining stuff works. One thing there though that interests me, Abyssal or like the plasma mutants of mining modules. That became something that I kept watching streamers doing and such. It seemed to be something that was an appetite for at least. That was cool. And also just being able to kit your ship out and them not kind of all being the same, being lucky or whatever when it comes to rolling them. But last, just the carriers. What's your kind of general thermometer on them right now?
Yeah.
Are we getting them to the point that people like how they're foreseen to be used, or is there still more work there?
Yeah, there's still more work there for sure. I think that the discussion around carriers and carrier changes has been tremendous. I really think people are seeing that we're not done yet. Like we're doing a change and another change, and there's more to come. So the feedback is always welcome. There are discussions that we're having now around things like carrier-specific content, potentially. That could be really interesting, just like special things you can do with carriers.
And this is what I've talked about every single time that carriers get brought up and changing carriers and buffing carriers or whatever, is that like carriers pilots are playing a totally different game than the rest of EVE Online. Like we're playing EVE Online, they're playing Homeworld, right? And so I've always wanted carrier-based gameplay. I've even suggested like an abyssal space area, so that way you can guarantee that there's only the one pilot and his carrier. Because if there's one pilot and his carrier, then if there's multiple places where things have to be done, they have to manage their fighters in order to control different points of interest, which is something that only a carrier can do. And I think that these incremental changes to carriers have been pretty good. And in fact, so a lot of people have been talking about oh, well, are these carrier changes enough to make them good? Dude, carriers got good with the conduit jumps. Conduit jumping with carriers is cool. It's a very powerful tool. It opens up the idea of hot drops to bigger population. You don't need a Titan anymore in order to do it, which is huge. And the only thing it needed was the price reduction to make it so that way they can be deployable now. And that's it. They're actually, in my opinion, in a pretty good spot. Do you want to keep tweaking on them? That's fine. But carriers at least there's a reason why you want them. There's a reason why you do them. They bring something to the table that is actually pretty good. That said, the fact that carrier and carrier gameplay exists in the game, but is not really supported in any sort of meaningful way, kind of sucks. And it would be really nice for there to be those sort of situations where the fact that you have multiple flights that you can send to different places, and so you can manage the scenario almost closer to a real-time strategy rather than just throwing in more pilots, would be really good. I think it'd be kind of cool if there could be a support carrier fighter that can hack cans, so that way you could have you could do, because sometimes they have thing where you have to hack 2 different cans at the same time. Maybe you could do that with your fighters or some sort of equivalent action. I'm just saying there's got to be some ways that unique gameplay scenarios that play off of the unique gameplay of carriers and super carriers
in the game. If people have ideas, maybe come hit up me or Trash Panda on Discord. We'd love to hear about that. So that's one thing. I hear talks around, fighter health and where it's at. We're definitely thinking about that. So we're not at a place where we're making a clear decision yet, but these are things that we're being mindful of and discussing. And then just to, drop some tea, maybe some new carriers as well.
Some tea.
Yeah.
Some new carriers. Maybe.
Yeah. So that's something we're really thinking about. And, there's some interesting ideas, so I think that's something you could expect in the future.
One thing you can expect from us here, soon, was I sat down with Art the other day.
I'm going to steal my old idea for jump freighters and say I now want a faction carrier that has the advantage of being able to conduit jump to Black Ops or to Covert Ops Sinos, but can still do a normal conduit jump. So you can do a normal hot drop towards the Industrial or Black Ops Sino. That would be very broken, but it would be a good reason to bring a 10 billion-ish carrier.
And was being showed around the carriers.
Yeah,
there is so much freaking detail with so cool stuff around it that I'm prepping for us to actually go through them with
your fighters
designers
now.
and just discuss kind of all these features and such. And kind of need to do it also with the cruisers that we did during.
I think that's called the Rogue Wall.
So yeah, you can expect that. I don't know. I think we've kind of covered everything when it comes to Catalyst. So I just want to kind of close this out with.
Oh shoot, we're almost done.
With asking you quite simply, Okami, is there something on your heart, something you want to share, something you want to discuss, here in the end? Is there something bubbling up in that?
Well, I do have one more thing kind of related to Catalyst first, so I'll get that off my chest. It has to do with asset safety and super capitals. We know that's an issue. I think I just want to get that out there so we have clear communication with everybody.
How it's related to Catalyst and not just the catastrophic events that have been happening.
Sure. Within the Catalyst,
it's happening in the Catalyst expansion.
Yes. And updates and changes related to this will also come up in the Catalyst.
One could say that the collapse of Pandemic Horde was the catalyst of this change.
Expansion. So yeah, this is something we know about, and we're talking about some solutions. All I can say is we're on it, and give us a couple days. You'll be hearing more. Pay attention to comms. You'll hear from our community folks and some.
That was one day ago. Already done.
About it. So be patient. It's coming.
You can't really learn carrier gameplay without immense risk outside of CC. Well, yeah. Well, it also just doesn't have dedicated carrier gameplay. It's still just doing other ships' gameplay.
All right. So the final one, or is there something else we want to discuss?
No,
Are we talking about dynamism more, or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I got my good piece of dynamism in, but yeah, just thinking about the future of Eve, like a couple of things I said today, like I want those to resonate with folks. Empires, making the empires feel significant, carriers, wormhole content, and more dynamic activities in Eve, more logging in, and not only having things that you expect there for you to do every day, but surprises, maybe plan changes, and
I have always said that there'd be cool to be a type of like a new type of Tech 2 battleship that could deploy a single fighter wing. I also honestly I think that the entire drone control system should be replaced with fighters, or at least reworked completely. Drone management is such ass and has always been. But yeah, the idea of some sort of light carrier that could be used in high-sec, I think is not a terrible idea. Also, the thing that isn't being talked about here is, like, as I've said before, in about 6 months or so, we are going to get the open release of Vanguard, which means we are going to see the introduction of bastions and how they impact the universe. So there's going to be stuff to set that up as well, right? A lot of the things that they're going to be doing right now are going to be at least thinking ahead and setting things up for what is coming with Vanguard.
New ways of interacting with the game. So also propelling some of the core fundamentals of Eve. So mining did this very well, I think. We pushed it just a little bit, and I think people felt that and they liked it. Maybe we could take it further, but I think we're now looking at other parts of the game and doing that same sort of thing with it. So
also amazing that we made it through this entire thing, and even here he has not mentioned salvaging, even though that was like they talked about it in the Legion keynote or whatever, and then never talked about it again. Can you explain the individual bastions concept? Well, originally the opening bastions are going to be NPCs, but eventually we're going to have player-built bastions, which are going to be localized. So it'll have a position in space. So it'll be in a specific system and could potentially have effects in that system and nearby systems. They haven't said much more about it than that, but a bastion is effectively your own virtuality. So rather than working like out of the Deathless's virtuality in the Fulcrum, you would actually have you and your corp or your guys would have your own virtuality that you deploy from.
That's what's on my mind, and that's what I love people to be thinking about for the future of Eve.
That's awesome. Okami, my tea got cold like half an hour ago.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, it's player housing for Vanguard. All right, that's it. That was the Okami story. You know, there wasn't a lot of new information in that, but it was still, I think, good to hear. If anything, it was good to hear like how happy and excited they are about how well Catalyst is done. An escort carrier? Yeah, that could be cool. So yeah, let's go ahead and finish up the stream with a little bit of tourism. So we're going to close this right here. Right now, as I've said, we are at the location of the Elder War Monument, and we're going to head over to another very special landmark, and hopefully we make it there successfully. You can see here where we're heading. Bastion's Walking Stations 2 eventually. I honestly, I unironically hope and think that is kind of where that's going. Like, I've said that before, especially anytime that people talk about walking stations. Ultimately, I think Vanguard becomes the opportunity to quote unquote bring back walking in stations, right? So let's go ahead and head to our next location. So yeah, I really would have wished a little bit more concrete information, but at the same time, it is true that like December is usually their time off. Yes, we watched the Pulse video. We just skipped over the nerds. It is true that like usually like December is their month off. That's actually why they do the Winter Nexus event, is because they want like a good event that people like, that they can just put on and let it run the whole like during their break. It's also why unironically yeah, except for CSP Jotun. It is probably why, no joke, I was talking about earlier that like there isn't a lot of the fleshed out lore when it comes to the winter event and like the Sancha White Storm fleets and stuff. But that's also because generally speaking, they just put it on and then they walk away from it for like a month. So I never expect anything like exciting or super interesting happening in the middle of the winter event because there's nobody to do it. And then likewise, like January is usually pretty quiet. But it is true that like they release the expansion, they go on their winter break, and then when they get back from their winter break, that's when they really lock down the next thing. So it makes sense that right now most of the information that they have about the next thing is very wishy-washy. Them continually talking about wormholes makes me very nervous. I'm not gonna lie. We're gonna have to see what that means, because like who knows what their feelings about wormhole space is and what should happen with wormhole space. Also, Vanguard is not a sorry, a Bastion is not a carrier. It's like it would be a facility, so it'll be like on a planet or in a location and project out from there. It's too dark right there for them to do anything until spring. Yes. No, yeah, and that's the that is the big thing is that like especially in Iceland, it actually really sucks to be in Iceland during the winter or during the, you know, the December and stuff. And so they have a tendency to like go on mass vacations. I think they do it like together sometimes. I remember there's like a tradition of like a big vacation party type thing. But I'm not 100% sure. I know that, well, I know that Icelandic tradition has Iceland has a lot of winter traditions. In fact, there's that great video about it. Oh, we could put on the video about it. Thordenblot, right? Yeah.
Protect your dream home.
Shh. No, stop. Right.
Needs of it, you know?
No, stop.
February. February in the Northern Hemisphere is cold, dark, and dreadful. Perhaps that is the reason why people chose to celebrate Valentine's Day during this month. Expressing one's love and maybe giving that special someone flowers or a box of chocolate is exactly what is needed to get through these last winter months.
Okay, well, fair enough.
But here in Iceland, there is also a lesser-known tradition that takes place during this time of year. A tradition which is also more or less designed to show our affection for one another. This is Jon. He just moved here from Denmark to work for the game company CCP. And tonight, CCP, like so many other companies, is following the age-old Icelandic tradition of having a midwinter banquet known as
Þorrablót. Þorrablót. I can hear you asking, what is this letter over there? Well, this is Thorn. It is pronounced. You see, this gentleman's name is not really Thor. His name is Thor. This piece of knowledge is handy to keep by whenever you feel the need to impress your friends.
The beauty of Icelandic women has become quite renowned to much of the world. but the reputation of the Icelandic cuisine is perhaps not as widespread. This is the Icelandic sheep, cornerstone of Icelandic cuisine for centuries. It kept the population of this barren rock alive through famine, cold bitter winters, and volcanic eruptions. And back in the day, when all its good parts had been eaten, you couldn't be fussy about what part to eat next. And now, 1,000 years later, Icelanders still pay homage to the endurance and resolve of their stubborn ancestors by eating those very same parts, including pressed ram testicles, cured in lactic acid.
Yeah, you might want to finish the video
Blood
before you make
pudding,
that decision.
cured in lactic acid, singed and boiled sheep's head. Curing it in lactic acid is optional. Not a meat eater? No worries. We always have the shark. The shark
Oh, the
is
shark.
fermented by burying it in the ground and letting it rot for up to 12 weeks. Oh, and that ammonia rush to the head is caused by the high concentration of urea in the shark. Shark should of course always be complemented with freezing cold shots of brennivine, which is also sometimes referred to as Black Death.
I have tried that.
Its unattractive black label was originally designed to discourage drinking, but its
told you.
trademark caraway spicing makes the taste quite unforgettable. It does a much better job of keeping everyone sober than a bad logo design ever could, but only for a little while. Of course, with delicacies like these, the tendency is to eat well and drink hard. Do you think that you have that special drop of Viking blood which would enable you to endure a thorabloat into the morning hours?
No, not really.
Do you have the stomach to look a sheep in the eye and then literally eat it? Do you have the balls?
All right. Sorry, that's one of their winter. I guess it's February, so not exactly appropriate, but I thought it was a good one to show off always. All right, so we are in Mazadit solar system, which actually does have a special effect. Environmental adaptation, 20% warp speed bonus, Eve Travel Agency. So here we are at the Eve Travel Agency, I think. Aren't we? Hold on. Where is it? There it is. Here is the Eve Travel Agency. It consists of this structure, this Stargate, or I guess, what is this? Well, I guess this is like a grav dock, right? And it's got the tour shuttle. It's got multiple shuttles here. And then it has the landing platform over. Oop. Okay. Let's try this again. And it has the platform. Oh, I can't. That doesn't work. Okay, great. So this Eve Travel Agency is actually an homage, a reference, a whatever you want to call it, to a website that we've been covering quite a bit. While we're doing these, we've been doing these the space tourism. One of the main places to go. Hold on a second. Gosh darn it. Where is it? I messed up a little bit. Hold on one second. Let me find it. Yeah. So here is the Eve Travel website for entry for the Eve Travel Agency. So Eve Travel is a website that has been maintained for a long time by Mark726. He's written a really good like lore survival guide and other stuff like that. But when they put in together all of these other monuments, they actually put in a special monument for Mark726. And gosh darn it, if the man is never going to see the Children of Light, then at least he has his own site, which is pretty cool. So editor's note, this that's all I can say is wow. You'd probably not be surprised to learn that I'm speechless is a rare concept for me. I started this blog in December of 2009. And if you had told me that I'd be going to 11 and a half years later and CCP would eventually memorialize this blog with its own site in-game, I would have laughed you out of the room. But as often as I write about the many varied, strange things that go on in this shared virtual universe of ours, it feels particularly weird for me to be writing about myself. It would be my tendency to make self-deprecating jokes on my own behalf, and that is not how I want to treat something that is really quite an honor by CCP. So I've asked my friend and fellow adventurer, Kadia Sai, to write this particular site up for me, and she very kindly agreed. To CCP, thank you very much for the amazing game that you've put together. Thank you for this unique distinction. I cannot say enough how much I love this site and am honored by it. To my readers, thank you for reading. As I mentioned recently, I still don't quite understand the fame I've developed over the years, but I'm humbled by it nonetheless. So I can tell you, he has put in a lot of work. Is he still writing? I don't know if we could say that he's... let me go see what his last entry was. His last entry was in 2022. But that's also because that was that was when they put in a whole bunch of new monuments. So I assume when there's new things to look at, he will go and look at them. So either way, it wasn't unusual to hear from Mark726 these days, as when working on a project together, but this time speaking with him over comms was a bit different than usual because of the excitement I could hear in his voice. That is not to say that he isn't excitable, far from it, just mentioned a far away ancient forgotten site somewhere, and his love for lore and adventure comes shining through. He actually was one of the people that was part of our original Eve lore roundtable. I admire about him. His excitement is infectious. In fact, you can hear his voice in the Emergent Threats trailer. This, however, wasn't... his excitement is infectious. This, however, wasn't that. I could tell from his voice it was different. He would tell me what's what. Instead, he invited me out to his home system in Mazadit in the Genesis region. It's no mistake, his home system is close to the New Eden system where the Eve Gate can be found. The gate in the region were perhaps his favorites among all the sites and places in New Eden, and for that matter, probably mine as well. I know that he's talking about spending his early days as a capsuleer exploring this area and basing his operations in Mazadit because it's close proximity to Amar for trading in Ayn Ursta for the elusive Children of Light sightings, which he's, as far as I know, still yet to see. According to him, it was something that I was just going to have to come out and see for myself. I suppose I had been sitting behind a desk for too long tending to Signal Cartel, so the timing felt right to undock and see some sights. I alerted my chief to prepare the Traveler, a Sisters V Vistero-class frigate, based on my beloved Voyager, which was now retired. Setting out from my home system of Sasio, I plotted a course for Mark 726's home system, Mazadit. The journey wasn't bad after 25 jumps. It was the most secure route by coming up in via Imya. Only two last systems, Antum and Mazadit, were low sec that I had to be more cautious. I had no difficulty at all and didn't see any of the threats to be concerned about. Upon entering the system, with its bright and relatively cool but stable K5 orange sun, I was directed by way of a beacon to the last 8th planet and of the 8-planet system. First of all, I was a bit surprised by the presence of the beacon. Having traveled through this system before, I was unable to recall anything of particular note. Of course, it could be that something recent had been added. Did Mark 726 discover something here after all these years? Landing on grid, I wasn't sure what to expect. I was surprised to find what appeared to be a couple of asteroids. To be surprised for a capsuleer can be deadly, but what I was seeing before me didn't seem as unusual as I was hoping for. I took in the site before me for a few moments before finally taking action. Having Traveler orbit the area while I processed just what I was seeing. The first thing that caught my eye was I thought that the beacon was established for the giant snake-shaped and broken orange crystal asteroids, which we can see right over there. Giant snake-shaped asteroid and a broken orange crystal asteroids, these are very common, these are set dressing pieces that CCP uses in all kinds of different sites. I had Aura do a search, and I had not heard of these celestial objects in this area, other than a few references to similarly shaped asteroids at other locations. However, I was unable to find anything specific information on the ones before me. Mentally scratching my head, I turned to Mark 726's own blog, Eve Travel. No mention there either. I grinned ear to ear. This must be it. He's discovered some new ancient mystery or tidbit of Eden lore. Excited for him. I couldn't wait. Oof. All right. Edencom showing up. But not here. That's fine. Excited for him. I couldn't wait to open comms to learn more about the two objects. I was wondering just where he was when Aura said, "That's what I've been trying to tell you. That's what I've been trying to tell you, Katia. The beacon is for the new Eve Travel Agency headquarters." And that was when my jaw literally dropped. This habitation module serves as the home base for the Eve Travel Agency, a small independent corporation that provides tours and travel information services to explorers across New Eden. Their proximity to the New Eden system makes them a convenient stopping point for travelers making their pilgrimage to the Eve Gate. No longer interested in the asteroids, I set my orbit for the new facilities. There were 3 structures. The first appeared to be a logistics platform likely to support shipping and receiving, with its landing platforms and container yards. It seemed both modern and practical in design, like the other platforms of its kind, and I'm sure it got the job done. The next structure could only be the the Eve Travel Agency headquarters. With its beautiful design and lighting, I couldn't picture Mark 726 in a luxurious office behind a desk, but if he had one, it would certainly be here. I could, however, picture visitors at the center inquiring about travel information with booking excursions. There's probably a waiting area for tourists as they prepared to head out to see the sights of New Eden. I wondered if there was a gift shop as well, and if they sold snow globes. I'll have to book an excursion to do some shopping while I'm here. Lastly, I turned the traveler towards the final structure, a docking facility where there was Professor Science, his buzzard, a Caldari covert ops frigate. Not only that, but there were 3 brand new shiny tourist shuttles ready for departure. The shuttles were Galentian style, and the red and red-white trim reminded me of the Steel Cardinal shipskin that he is so fond of flying on Professor Science. My smile only broadened upon seeing Mark 726's ship. After all, it was like seeing him in person. As Capsuleers, we become the ship, and it's as much of a part of us as is part of our own body. To baseliners, it's hard to describe just what that feels like, but in the moment I was seeing Mark 726, my friend, and I couldn't be more proud of him than I am today. I've met Mark 726. He's a great dude. I love that dude to death. He's so cool, and I'm glad that he got this honor, and I'm glad to be able to show it to you guys. After more than 10 years of exploring and documenting nearly 200 sites around the cluster with Eve Travel, Mark 726 laid down and built a foundation in Modzit where it all began, establishing himself in the lore of New Eden. I dare say it's the most exhaustive travel resource that you'll ever find on the cluster. His hard work and dedication over the years is admired by all that take in his blog, and the Eve Travel Agency is a fitting tribute. His blog was a main source of inspiration to me, and I know countless others to go out, explore, and see the stars. I started off as a fan, but have been blessed and honored to call him a friend over these years, and was absolutely thrilled and honored when he asked me to work on his blog post for Eve Travel. Congrats, Mark 726. So this is the Eve Travel site. Yeah, let's, I missed... I didn't see Professor Science. Oh, there it is. Professor Science. Professor Science is his buzzard. There you go. Yeah. So this site is completely here in the game to honor Mark 726 of Eve Travel. Very, very cool. Very, very cool stuff. All right. But that just reminded me. Let's should we try to get here? Let's just go for it. Let's go for it. Let's wrap things up today by going to where it all began. Hopefully nobody will kill me on the way. We got the warp speed bonus. Let's go! $4.2 AU. 420 AU. I will say, oh God, this is going to be one of those things where I take, like, it gets really spooky to me. Because they're going to be able to attack me for a few seconds. Oh, nope, they didn't get to attack me. Whew. I will say, if you ever get a chance to party with any of the people from CCP, it is an absolute blast. I've gotten to do it at Vegas and at PAX before, and let me tell you, do not try to outdrink an Icelander. Just don't try it. I mean, you could try it if you like, you know, alcohol poisoning. But honestly, going, like, most of the time when they have things like Vegas or whatever, there is like a pub crawl. And so, yeah, they love to party and drink with their fans for sure. Do they still have Vegas? Well, I think Goonswarm did it this year. They haven't done like an official Vegas since after the pandemic, I think. They've just kind of stuck to FanFest again. But they always send like representatives. Where can you find the schedule? Yeah, Vegas is player run again. They were actually supposed to move it to California, and then that never happened because, you know, pandemic. Vegas 2025. Was October 14th. Vegas was originally a player-run event. CCP took it over for a few years. But then, like I said, they were going to move it to California. But then, you know, we didn't. They didn't. We didn't have any get-togethers at all for a year. Oh, let's not have duplicate sounds. So we are going to be wrapping things up soon. So this is your last reminder. Please like the stream if you haven't already, and consider sharing this video or my YouTube with other people. You know, subscribe to the channel so that way you get your latest news and information. Also, if you head on to our Discord, you don't, you know, the Convocation of Empyreans are recruiting, but you don't have to join the Convocation in order to join the Discord. You can just come and hang out with us if you want. And if you give yourself, flag yourself as interested in YouTube, then you'll get the pings in the media channel for when I go live and whatnot. That's the most consistent, reliable way of knowing when I'm going to go live or when I put up videos and stuff. Also, if you are a supporter, thank you very much. You know, member, you can become a member for only $1 a month on YouTube, or a patron over on Patreon. And if you are a member on YouTube, you get access to my edited videos early. In fact, when I get done with this stream, we will be putting live the previous tourism stream that we just did up for everybody else, but it has been available to supporters for several days, as well as a couple of the highlights from previous videos from last week. And it means so much to me to be able to do this. And those are the, you know, these are the people that make that possible. So very much want to say thank you. Always want to say thank you to my supporters. It means a lot. Not just like the it literally means a lot to me. Like to know that people care about it and like it and want to support it. You know, feeds my soul as well as my dog. I need to get more dog food. But also, make sure if you haven't ever done your 1,000,000 free skill points for EVE Online, if you're a returning player or a newer player or just didn't know about it yet, make sure to use the link down below or in chat in order to get your free 1,000,000 skill points. It's 40 days of alpha, 20 days of omega training for free, and it does help those who help the show. Convocation of Empyreans is recruiting. We do We do moon mining. We do a lot of other operations now. We try to do several fleets a week, and we're getting even more done. If you have something that you're interested in doing in EVE Online, you should get a hold of us and see whether or not we can help you, enable you to do it. Let's hope the fact that I didn't say about anything ahead of time means that I don't get choked out here. Hopefully. Should be fine. Can I see it from here? I thought I could see it from... I thought you could see it a system away. Oh, I'm not even a system away yet. Oh, never mind. Love all the different skyboxes. The skyboxes in Frontiers are insane, but like I'm always going to have love for the skyboxes of EVE. Kept you sane while you prep more than 250 million grade 1 Veld cell. I might be convinced to go to EVE California. So many eating comm systems. Let's not get killed by eating comp, shall we? I've become so careful about my cloaking after warping now, after what happened with the drifters. If you want to see what happened with the drifters, you can go watch my last few streams and see when it happened, or if you're a supporter, you can find that video. It's cut out. I actually want to give a special shout out while we're wrapping things up to Thrans. Thrans has really like done so much for the organization and the stream and everything. He's low-key like one of the biggest reasons why things are still working fine. No, yeah. So one of the bigger supporters of the stream and of the there it is. There it is. I saw it. And of the convocation. Thank you so much for everything you do, Thrans. Okay, here we are. The Eve Gate itself. The landmark of New Eden. Let's go ahead and make a quick little micro jump. And then cloak up. We do have an effect, max velocity, 20%. Thanks to the Eve Gate environmental effect. Very pretty. In fact, we can just do this for a second. Oh, hold on. Not that one, apparently. There we go. The Eve Gate. Let's, there you go. That's very cool. So this is the location of the wormhole that brought us here to New Eden. This is what remains of it. This is what's left of it. There is all kinds of cool stuff talked about it in the lore, especially in Empyrean Age and Templar 1. This is the thing that the Sisters of Eve are so obsessed about. So the original fast travel via wormhole system has a fast travel effect. Yeah. Why not go back into it? It collapsed. This is like a remaining residual. That is not like, it's not a functional wormhole anymore. There is a joint research center that we can go check out. And this is the New Eden system in the Eve constellation. Fun fact, the other side of this wormhole, when it still existed, was known as the Atom Gate. Yes, there's actually, like, the tachyon emissions coming through this causes parallel dimensions to, like, spontaneously pop in and out of existence throughout this whole area. It's very messed up. But here we are. Yep, there's a Sisters of Eve research facility. And of course, a Jovian observatory. But you can't dock in this one. I get it, Adam Gate, so he came out of the hole and we're his offspring. Well, yeah, the Adam Gate led to the Eve Gate, which leads to New Eden. Correct. So yeah, this has been a little bit of space tourism. Obviously, I could tell more about the Eve Gate, but I mean, like, all of Eve history talks about the Eve Gate, so I'm sure there's going to be plenty to do, and we've already talked quite a bit. We're at 4 hours now, so I am going to say I've been Ashrothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put Eve into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing it around, checking out the merch like this software developer not equal tech support t-shirt and this convocation mug or whatever else for your Christmas shopping. Thank you so much for that. I hope you guys like this. Let me know what other topics that we want to cover. Next week, we will be going over the winter event, some more information about the history of Ore. Although I do have lots of good videos about a lot of the big history of the lore, including Ore, including actually, there's 2 videos from last year about the Mortis Legion. There's actually an entire lore playlist that I have on my YouTube, which you should check out. But all that said, thank you guys so much, especially any of you who decide to become a member or a patron of the channel. And I do want to give a special shout out and thanks to my top tier supporters whose list is not here. Here it is. 745 MPSI, Arydanika the Queen, Bad Boy Smooth, Ebo Lead, Erladis, Elange, Flash Gordon, May, Malak Starfire, Malin, Mercuton, Mayak, Neelam, LM1, Sheesh, Susuro. Don't know why Thrans has never been on this list, but I'm going to add it now. Thrans and Rid. Thank you all so much. And until next time, I have been Ashrothi, the voice of New Eden, and I'll see you in space. Like the stream for the guineas.
Bring on the wrecking machine. For every city